This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Many, Mickey, Fishy.
You are listening to the Flagship Podcast with your hosts, Joe Lanza.
Hey, star-making performance.
She's not wrong.
The show's doing .11s. Nobody watches the show. Less people watch the show now than were watching it before her star-making performance.
And Rich Frage.
If you're indifferent on apples, that's what a great fruit that you're just letting go by the wayside.
What is your fascination with apples?
They're fantastic. It's the fall. It's the apple season, man. And we are live on the Flagship Podcast. I am Rich, and on the mend from his turgid larynx, I think is what you call it, it's Joe. Joe, how's it going?
I never called it a turgid larynx.
That wasn't the official. That's not what the doctor said. Hello, no. Joe. I'm sorry. Please sit down. You have a turgid larynx. Yeah, I had to go to the nurse for that one. I said, hey, Joe's got a vocal cord inflammation, but I want to do a gimmick where, similar to how World Wrestling Entertainment would handle this, and come up with the most ridiculous way to say that he had, vocal cord inflammation or whatever. And she went to doctors, she went to fellow nurses, and they came up with turgid larynx or turgid larynx. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but
you don't even know how to pronounce the thing you're trying to bury.
No, God, no.
Okay.
Turgid. I don't know. Who cares? No one's ever used that word. No one's ever used that term ever. So
that term was never used with me. Not saying it's not possible, since they don't really know what the hell's wrong with me. But I don't believe it's that. I listen. I still have a supple neck. Let's not make any mistakes about that. The neck is still very supple. That's a Flagship callback on its own. I did not have the flu. I know everybody's having a lot of fun with that, and they think that I did, in fact, have the flu, and then I'm turning the fact that I had the flu into a bit that I didn't have the flu, but I really didn't have the flu. If you want to add gasoline to that conspiracy theory, Rich, you are aware that my wife did, in fact, have the flu 2 weeks ago, which will do nothing but add more speculation that I did, in fact, have the flu, because obviously – I presumably would have caught the flu from her. But I thought I had the flu, but I did not have the flu. I did not have a strep throat. In fact, I was not ill at all. So, seems to have been just a swollen vocal cords is what I was told.
Too many takes. The doctor said, I'm sorry, Joe, you have too many takes. They need you to have less takes if you can possibly.
Basically said that. They told me not to do strenuous talking for a week, right, which meant no podcasting.
Joe, there's a lot of dopes in the wrestling media, but you have to let them go for a week. You must let the dopes run wild for a week. And boy, did they run wild, Joe. They ran very wild for this last week while you were away. So
yeah, and it's frustrating because, I don't know what's going on, and I got to go back to the doctor, and they're going to check me again. But I did what they told me and didn't talk for a week and didn't do any strenuous talking for a week, and that was up yesterday. And I still have this chronic cough that won't go away for months. I think they think that could have something to do with everything, but I cannot not do the audio. I didn't do audio for 7 days, and it makes me very anxious. It makes me very frustrated. It makes me very angry and impatient because I feel like my takes are not going out into the world, and I feel like the world needs my takes. They need the most compelling voice in wrestling media, and I see a lot of horrible, stupid, terrible takes, and I can't counter them when I am shut down and muted by these dopey doctors, and it's very frustrating. So they tell me I can do this again. I'm going to do it. I'm going to keep doing it till these vocal cords fall out of my neck, or they tell me I can't do it anymore, but I'm going to keep coming back, and I'm going to keep doing it. I can't stop.
No, you've said you're doing this thing until you literally can't talk anymore. You're doing this thing just more than anything to spite people as well, despite the haters. Even if there's only 3 people listening and all 3 of them are haters, in the end, you're still doing this audio. So appreciate it.
I will do this audio until I am dead, or until I literally cannot speak anymore. And it'll be hard for me to live. I'm serious. I have to do the audio. It means that much to me. I'm not doing a bit. I need to do the audio. The week killed me. It killed me. It was different than like taking a vacation or, taking a week off from March Madness or, going to wherever the fuck. Because then I know I'm coming back. I didn't know what the hell was going on with my fucking neck last week. But I need to do it. I need this. Yeah, it's part of me. I have to have I have to give my takes. People got to hear me. So
yeah, we're back. We're back full powered. I want to thank Joe Gagney and Scott Edwards for filling in last week. I thought it was really, really fun. A different show, different flagship than what we usually do, but I think a lot of fun with both Joe and Scott, including doing a very, very lengthy Joshi segment with Scott as well. And I heard a lot of people enjoyed that and really enjoyed Scott's appearance, and he's been bumped up in the world as well. I know a few other people calling his name. So hey, you get on this flagship, and he knew it too. He plugged it later and said, "Hey, I'm gonna get all my plugs out of the way because I'm on a big time show." And I was like, "You're damn right, you're on a big time show, Scott." So yeah, I want to appreciate him for doing that. But yeah, I've heard some legacy folks giving him a call to do some stuff that we'll maybe see later in the year. So he's getting big time now all of a sudden. So there you go, good for him.
Well, you can't let me yell and scream.
I mean, I never do. You just kind of do it on it, but I will try. I will try. The problem is a lot of these topics are not great. Like these are, I'm looking at the run sheet here, and you got the Fiend / Bray Wyatt returning. You got Ariel Helwani showing his ass. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff here that might get your might get you in a tizzy. But yeah, you gotta have power and control over this. So hopefully you can stick with it. So
all right, listen, I can't. It just takes over.
You can't change you. I guess you should have told the doctors that. Like it's they always say that too with like athletes. Like if you clear them to be healthy enough to play, they're gonna play. They're gonna do their normal thing. Like, you got to make sure they're 100% healthy because they're going to go out there and give it 110% or whatever. And that's what you're going to do. I mean, you could say, don't let me yell, but come on.
It's like the football with these concussions. They got to take the helmet away.
Yeah, just hide it. Put it in a different room. Put holes in it.
They take the helmet. They take the helmet away. And they don't give the helmet back until they get cleared. You got to take my microphone out of my cold, dead hands. Is that what Charlton Heston said about his fucking shotgun or something?
Yeah, with some sort of large gun. Yeah, I forget if it was
dumb gun
a rifle or a shotgun or something that he probably doesn't actually need. But
yeah, now he's dead. So
so if he's so smart, why
hopefully we took it from him. Yeah. So same deal.
When did Charlton Heston die? I feel like
probably like 99 or
it wasn't
2000.
That he was pretty old though, right? He was very old.
He was in Bowling for Columbine, which was like what, 96 or something.
So he died in 2008, 84 years old.
Kicked around longer than I thought.
Charlton Heston. Oh, fuck, that's a working name. Did you know Charlton Heston's a working name?
Listen, it's old Hollywood.
Old Hollywood, man. John Charles Carter is his real name. Yeah, that's not going to play. Some movie, John Carter. I don't know if that's gonna work, pal.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Normally, they're like super ethnic names that they change to something simple.
Right? Yeah, like if it's like it's some like Jewish name, and they're like, it's not gonna work, buddy. Like not in this industry. So they like change them to something short. Yeah, like John Charles Carter is a pretty.
That's what they change it to.
You're right. That's not a bad name. That's not I would have stuck with that one. Yeah, because it's not like ethnic. It's not Italian or Jewish. It's not because they wanted to make sure that you stayed kind of neutral. You know what I mean? Like
some kind of Eastern European name no one can pronounce.
Right.
With like a lot of K's and W's in it.
Yeah,
like
John
that's what they
Charles
changed.
Carter is pretty okay. Like that's kind of fine, but.
Maybe,
but Charlton Heston's better though. Let's be honest. I mean,
it's much better. See, John Carter is very generic and unmemorable. Whereas Charlton Heston, I mean, you're not going to forget it.
Oh no,
like that.
never. How could we still not still remembering it today?
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's old Hollywood. They all changed their names. You know, pretty much. You know, you look up any of them.
Yeah,
sure
they almost all did. Yeah.
Let me check out Errol Flynn. Let me see if Errol Flynn.
Errol Flynn. All right.
Because that's kind of an oddball name.
That
right?
is a
So
weird
maybe
one.
that's
Yeah,
really
that is a
name.
weird one.
No, Errol Leslie Thompson Flynn.
Wow.
So good for
okay.
Errol Flynn.
Yeah. Errol.
Good for
There's not enough Errols in the world these days. You know what I mean?
All right. What do you think? Gary Cooper. What do you think?
Gary Cooper. Is that that okay? Gary Cooper.
Pride of the Yankees.
Yeah, Gary Cooper. That sounds like a shoot name. Gary Cooper sounds like a shoot name.
Sounds like a shoot name. Gary Cooper, born Frank James Cooper.
What's wrong with Frank?
I don't know. I guess he.
What Gary? There's a prestige to Gary. I guess. Okay. Well, whatever. Pride of the Yankees. How many people listening to this have ever watched Pride of the Yankees? From the early 40s. I mean, I've seen it.
All right. Maybe Sergeant York. Go with that. High Noon.
No.
What do you want to go with there?
Yeah, there's not really many Gary Cooper movies to go with, so.
I don't know. Open
I just
a
like
book.
how you went right to the Pride of the Yankees right away, which would be a bunch of people saying, "I don't know what that movie is." Like, well, go watch it. It's good. So.
Yeah. Well, you know, turn on a fucking app or open a book. What do you want?
They
from
show
me?
that shit on they show that shit on MLB Network in the off season all the time, man. So.
Well, there you go.
There was one time we were at a bar watching, and they had the Freddie Prinze Jr. flick, a Summer Catch. Have you ever seen Summer Catch?
Yeah, it's awful.
It's not good. So I wonder if it wasn't supposed to play, or like an executive was like, no, get the shit off here, because they played like 25 minutes of Summer Catch, and then at the top of the hour it just switched to Pride of the Yankees, and I was like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
Like I wonder who made the call, or and I will say, like, Summer Catch gets a little racy. They're making out, there's some bikini, there's some cleavage, so I don't know if it was that reason, or like an executive was like, no, I want to watch Pride of the Yankees, turn it on. And this was like at 3 p.m. on a Saturday or whatever in the off season, so they had. I mean, no one's watching MLB Network. It's only on because this bar has it on as their 9th TV or whatever. You know what I mean? But I just love Summer Catch, 25 minutes. Nah, fuck that. Let's go to the Pride of the Yankees instead. So,
Yeah, why did they even show Summer Catch? That's just an awful movie.
It's tangentially a baseball movie, too.
Let's try Cary Grant. What's your guess, Rich?
Oh,
Cary
there's
Grant.
no way Cary Grant is a shoot name. No, that's a working name for sure.
All right. Born 1904.
No way. It's too good, too...
it's too dignified,
yeah,
right?
it's way too dignified.
It's very golden age Hollywood.
Yeah, Cary Grant. Yeah.
Right?
No way.
All right, here we go. Cary Grant, born Archibald Alec Leach.
Oh, you got to change that one. Yeah, that you can't go. Yeah,
You can't
Archibald
be running around
Leach. Yeah, that's not going to work. That's not going to play.
Archibald Leach. That is not a leading man's name.
That is
Archibald
not Cary
Leach.
Grant is. Cary Grant.
Now, Cary Grant, okay, a woman wants to fuck a Cary Grant.
Yeah, no one's fucking
what I mean?
Archibald Leach. Yeah.
No one wants to fuck Archibald Leach. No one wants to go back to their girlfriends and be like, oh, I'm dating a new man while twirling her hair, and be like, oh, what's his name? Archibald Leach.
Archibald Alec Leach is his name.
Yeah, that's not leading man material.
No, got it.
But yeah, Cary Grant though, that's the stuff. He came up with a good one.
That's the business there, right?
Yeah.
It's all everything's wrestling, man. It all comes back to wrestling. Working names, shoot names, classic Hollywood, all of it comes back.
This is a fantastic game. We got to do one more. Let me think of a good one.
This is good. This is your age of Hollywood golden age is for some reason your wheelhouse. I don't exactly know why, but it absolutely is. So
you got to know your history. Listen, I'm not going to give you like Rock Hudson. That's obviously
yeah.
Right. Okay. Here's an interesting one.
Very famous. Rock Hudson, very famous actor too, because really did a lot. Rock Hudson's clearly not a name, right? Like we all know that, but he ended up having a really kind of important laters because he died of did he die of AIDS? He died of AIDS, right?
He died of AIDS, and he was like one of the first super high profile people to die of AIDS during the AIDS crisis.
Right, and it's actually funny if you go and read. I guess maybe not funny, but interesting to go read articles at the time and newspaper accounts at the time because they're like, oh, he died of AIDS, but we thought that was only gay people that got AIDS or what, because they didn't know any, you know what I mean? They didn't know anything about it at the time. And then like little by little, people were like, they're like, but Rock Hudson, there's no way. I mean, how did he get it? They're like, like, so
then
eventually
they
they're
put
like,
together.
Maybe Rock,
Yeah.
Like, well, no, look at his coif hair. There's no way. It's so
he was a rugged ladies man.
Right. It was so interesting to watch these newspapers have to dance around just saying, yes, this guy that we all thought was super, this giant hunk,
rugged ladies man.
Right. So it's actually, and it was an important thing that everybody just woke up and was like, oh, wait a minute. Like, we don't really know what, we thought you could only be this type or that type. Or it's like, oh, wow, shit. We thought that guy was like the biggest hunk in the world. And, well, okay, cool. Well, and so he played an important role in the later half of his career. But yeah, you don't even have to do Rock Hudson. I know his name is not Rock Hudson. I know for a fact he wasn't born Rock Hudson. So
I'll give you a tricky one. Humphrey Bogart.
Humphrey Bogart. I think I want to say his first name is probably a shoot, but I feel like the last name can't be a shoot.
My man was born on Christmas 1899, first of all.
1899.
He's running around with Ebenezer Scrooge.
It was like a period piece when he
He definitely wore one of those long gowns to bed at some point. All right,
blew out the candle next to the lantern next to his bed.
Right. 7:48, dark out. Time to pack it in. Hit the hay. Little buttermilk. Blow out the candles. Humphrey Bogart, born Christmas 1899. Humphrey DeForest Bogart.
Oh wow! Okay.
Shoot name.
Ooh,
so
Humphrey DeForest would have been a fun name too. They could have went with that one.
Humphrey Bogart. I would have kept that too. It's easy to say in hindsight because these are like legendary actors, right? But that's a memorable name, and it's not hard to pronounce or anything like that. So I think you made the right choice. Yeah, Rock Hudson, just for posterity, Rich. Born Roy Harold Shearer Jr. Oh
yeah, Roy Shearer Jr. isn't gonna do it. So yeah. And
then let's do Clark Gable. Now that is a leading man's name.
Classic catch in the No Dope chat room brings up, this show is tailored to the NXT 2.0 key demo. Yes, they're playing this game at home, going yeah.
So little Clark Gable, we got of course Gone with the Wind. Mutiny on the Bounty.
Clark Gable. I feel like that's Clark Gable. Oh man.
Can you give me another Clark Gable movie? Those are the only two I can think of.
Another Clark. So what'd you say already? You did
Gone with the Wind and Mutiny on the Bounty.
Well, wasn't he in? You did Gone with the Wind. He was in shit.
Anyway, let's see if this
started in Naples, right? Wasn't he with
Born 1901.
1901. Okay. San Francisco. I've seen San Francisco. He's in that movie, right?
I don't know.
Pencil mustache. Yeah.
Clark Gable. This man is an actor. Very dignified.
Yes, Clark Gable. I could see him coming with that name. That's enough of a period name. I think he could have had that one.
That's a leading man. Let me tell you,
yeah.
Clark.
Oh
Gable.
yeah.
They don't. This isn't Miles Teller, okay?
They don't make him like Clark Gable anymore. Let me tell you that.
This is Clark Gable, okay? None of this Michael B. Jordan stuff. Okay, Clark Gable. Okay, born 1901, often referred to as the King of Hollywood, and deservedly so.
Okay, yeah.
Born William Clark Gable. How about that?
Oh, they went with the middle. Yeah, and a perfect choice. Because Bill Gable, William Gable, it's fine. Clark Gable. I mean, you hear it, and it ding, it goes off. You're like, that's it. If you're born Clark Gable, you are destined to be the king of Hollywood and look like this man. Yeah.
Like he looks like Clark Gable. The little mustache. He's
the look. He always had that little smirk on his face too, kind of like.
He's uppity.
You're like,
he's
fuck so this uppity. Guy.
Right? Yeah, just fuck this dude. And he's an actor. He's a thespian. I guarantee.
Yes.
referred to himself as the thespian. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I got really annoyed if you talked to him while he was reading a script or whatever,
Yeah.
Ripping
I
off
know
the
I
cig.
said last one 1,000 times. Let's do
There's so much going on in wrestling.
Gregory Peck. Last one for real.
Gregory Peck. Okay, it's a Gregory.
Rich, what say you, Gregory Peck?
Gregory Peck. I am gonna
Kill a Mockingbird. Cape Fear.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know. I think I know him more than any. Because he stayed late into the. I just watched The Omen like a couple days ago, and I think he's in that movie, right? A little old at that time, but I'm pretty. Because then he had like a second run into like the 70s. I want to say.
I had a little Terry Funk run.
Yeah.
Terry Funk run.
Yeah. Like a little second run there. He was definitely in The Omen. I don't know what else he was in during that time period, but I imagine if you had the ability to book Gregory Peck for your, you try to get him in there.
Or 1916.
1916. I'd say Gregory Peck sounds like a name that they could. Yeah, I'm going to say it's a legit name. Legit.
The American Film Institute named him the 12th greatest male star of all time. Hard to argue. Born Eldred Gregory Peck.
Oh,
April 5th, 1916.
Okay. All right, so another middle name. Another good middle name.
Another middle name. Now I want to know these 12 greatest stars of all time. Who'd they go with here? Here's they got a top 25. Oh, these are just the golden era. Okay. But really, what other era is there? I mean, like I said, Miles Teller won't be cracking these lists. Let's be honest.
The 90s. You're not going to list the Adam Sandler and Jim Carrey. Yeah, get out of here. Anyway, all right. Yeah. Who do you got? Who do you got here?
They went Bogart, number 1.
Okay.
Cary Grant. James Stewart.
Are these just male or male and female?
There's a women's list, too.
Oh, canceled.
Othering the women.
AFI.
Why can't I compare Greta Garbo to Marlon Brando?
Yeah,
right?
Unbelievable. All right.
They worked intergender back then.
So
Brando,
you're just going to give me the males then. All right, so we got Humphrey Bogart was your number 1.
Not mine, American Film.
Oh, the AFIs, yes.
Yeah. Bogart, Grant, James Stewart, Marlon Brando, Fred Astaire is your top 5. I don't know about Fred Astaire. Oh, you can take your song.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm moving Fred. I'm getting Clark Gable in there. Fred Astaire can tap dance his ass out of here.
He can dance on offset. I'm not. That's a niche.
No, I feel like you got to get like John Wayne's got to be involved in there, right? I mean, just on the pure being in 19,000 movies.
I don't
maybe
know
they weren't all good, but I feel like you got to get him in there.
Let me see what years this covers, because this is the golden age of I don't know. Nobody has time for this. The rest of the list is
Fred Astaire, tap dance your ass out of here. I got no time.
Well, I'll run some for you. You tell me. Like, I think Henry Fonda. He got to be ahead of Fred Astaire, right? Now, Fred Astaire, big star. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, for sure. We're talking all time though. We're talking top of all time. Henry Fonda. I like Clark Gable more.
Here's Clark Gable at 7.
Yeah, I think he's got to be there. I think Peck. I'd say Peck for sure. It's got to be there.
Little low.
Like I said, John Wayne. I think is 13th.
Hey, jumping ahead, bud.
Oh, sorry.
James Cagney, Spencer Tracy, Charlie Chaplin at number 10.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Give it a little respect to the comedy here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Guess it wasn't all comedy, but then Gary Cooper. Gregory Peck, John Wayne at 13, like you said.
Yeah.
Laurence Olivier at number 14.
See, it's a wrestling reference. Now it's a wrestling show again.
That's right. Gene Kelly, another song and dance man. I don't know.
Yeah, I got no time for the song and dance. I'll be honest. I don't like these days. I hate. What was that most recent? There's like a recent fucking something LA or. Do you know what I'm talking about? There was some movie, and the nurse wanted to watch it, and it started, and then they were like, "Oh no!" And I'm like, I'm done. I can't do this. You know what I'm talking about? It was something. It took place in Los Angeles, some goddamn musical. I forget what it was, but I was like, "Nah, I'm not doing this. Get out of here."
You're talking about
La La Land.
Ryan
La La
Ryan
Land.
Gosling?
Yes. Yeah.
Gosling and
it was like Emma Stone and Ryan, and I'm like, oh, that sounds all right. Yeah, I'll watch it. And then they're like dancing. And I'm like, no. I'm down for a romantic comedy between the two. I'm down for a romantic drama, but I'm not doing song and dance. Get out of here. Got no time for musicals.
I didn't like it. Yeah, no.
Go in the other room and watch old wrestling or something. I'm sure. Like, this is you. I'm out.
Skipping around, we got James Dean at 18. He made like 3 movies. And then wrapped his car around a tree. Yeah. So I don't know.
That's tough. That's that's very similar to like the great musicians who die when they're 26 years old or whatever. We didn't see their downfall. We didn't see James Dean having to take terrible roles later in his life. So yeah, that's. I mean, I get it.
Or if he would have sustained, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, a hunky youngster. We don't know what kind of career he would have had.
This is the worst show we've ever done.
Look at this number 20. This is a gimmick. Marx Brothers at number 20.
Oh, yeah. What are we doing here?
Come on. Sidney Poitier at 22.
22? You got the Marx Brothers over Sidney? That's an injustice.
Listen, I don't disagree. Move him up.
That guy was making movies until, God, I feel like the year he died, he was still making movies. Longevity, man. Come on. Sidney.
Got to count for something.
That's a dude. Come on.
Robert Mitchum. Edward G. Robinson, and 25 William Holden. We're really scraping the bottom of the barrel now in terms of legends. So, no disrespect to William Holden,
but from one of my favorite movies, The Network. I forget. He was in the Network for sure. Yeah, love that movie.
Network, yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So the number 1 lady, Rich, was Katharine Hepburn.
All right, whatever.
Yeah. Way less attractive one. Audrey was that's the hottie. Audrey's the hottie. See it. What else catches my eye here with the women here? Monroe, number 6. I guess. I don't know. Joan Crawford at 10.
Joan Crawford at
10. I'll tell you, she'll get you fired. She will get you fired. You know what I mean? You don't want to cross her. Ginger Rogers, again with the dance routines, hit the bricks. So there you go. That's the Shirley Temple. I guess you got to have her in there.
You got to have Shirley Temple in there.
I mean, you don't. I guess
you don't have to, but she's probably got to be. Yeah, golden age. You got to.
I wouldn't have her in there myself, if I'm being honest. I'm not sitting down to enjoy Wee Willie Winky. I'm not doing that.
No.
Okay. But I understand it. I understand it. Okay, like she's ahead of Rita Hayworth. Get lost. I can't accept that. Like she's like Shirley Temple ahead of Lauren Bacall. What are we doing? But it's a gimmick pick. I understand. But anyway, this is the most flagship opening that's ever been done.
Joe's back, everybody.
In the history of flagship openings. Do that, Gagney. Where's Joe Gagney now? Actually, he probably could do this.
I was going to say, of all the people you called out, I think Joe
wrong guy.
Absolutely could do this. Yeah.
He would crush this.
He might be better than me in this spot, to be honest.
He's yelling at his phone. He's into this.
He threw his phone across the room when he found out that James Dean was above Sidney Poitier. He's like, "Get the fuck! Are you kidding me?"
Yeah,
the guy was in 3 movies. This is ridiculous. Miscarriage of justice. Unbelievable. Anyway, we got plenty of wrestling to talk about today. We have WWE Extreme Rules. We're going to review the show from the new and improved World Wrestling Entertainment. Joe, I watched Raw, so we can talk about my experience watching the new and improved Monday Night Raw. Bray Wyatt is also back to QR codes. We're all wondering, what do these QR codes mean? And then we all guessed immediately it was Bray Wyatt. And then, Joe, the QR codes were right. It was Bray Wyatt. So we'll talk all about him coming back, his return. But
then they kept doing more.
Everybody knew 5 weeks ago it was Bray Wyatt, and then he was coming at Extreme Rules. And then the next QR code was like, oh my God, it's the date of Extreme. We know. We got it.
Yeah, I didn't understand.
It's a white rabbit. The white rabbit means Bray Wyatt. I know. We heard you. We got it. Thank you.
What was all the excitement about?
I don't know.
The mystery was solved with the very first clue. Right. And then they would keep doing. Rich, they're still doing them.
Yeah, if you download if you download a copy of Raw on Peacock, the file name says White Rabbit, and that means okay, cool.
Yeah, but yeah, we know it's Bray, and we know when he's showing up. Rich, they had a QR code this week on Raw.
We got it.
The man came back already. What is this?
I don't know. We'll talk about it more when we get there. New Japan had the Declaration of Power show. A lot of changes going on in New Japan as well. They're kind of setting the stage for Wrestle Kingdom. They have a Battle Autumn show coming up, a big one in November. And then a new title as well. They've introduced a brand new title, so we're going to talk all about that. The last of the fake TripleManias, the most real of the TripleManias, is this weekend. TripleMania 30, Mexico City. We'll talk about the major matches on this show. We have a preview up at voicesofwrestling.com from Lucha Blog, Cubs fan as well, if you want to read about that. But we'll touch on that briefly. And then a quick little jaunt to the Indies. I watched West Coast Pros Ride the Lightning show, including a West Coast Pro heavyweight title match with somebody that we told you many, many times over, you're going to have to pay attention to the guy, you're going to have to pay attention to this guy, and now he's a made man, so we'll talk a little bit about that. And then a tournament that I'm attending this weekend. AAW doing a tournament this weekend, so we'll talk about the first round matchups and some of the people involved in that tournament. But even though I did not think we were going to start with this topic, this is a topic that has continued to kind of grow as the day has gone on, continue to grow over the last few days as well, and definitely missed by you not being able to give the takes out there on audio. But Ariel Helwani did an interview with Tony Khan last week, and it was on his YouTube channel. It was about 77 minutes. They went over several subjects. Ariel multiple times tried to get Tony to answer questions about the All Out fight, about MJF's contract, about trying to sign Bray Wyatt, about Cody, and particularly the All Out fight. Like, Ariel really, really wanted Tony to give him details about the All Out fight. Tony either couldn't answer, wouldn't answer, whatever. People were like, yeah, it was an okay interview, yeah, whatever. I mean, there's some parts, and we'll talk about the interview itself, because I actually thought the interview was decent at times, and I kind of agree with some of Ariel Helwani's larger points. But he has then gone on the defensive this week on the MMA Hour. He said the interview with Tony was, quote, the most frustrating interview in my career. He began the discussion by saying, look, whatever I'm going to say here is going to piss off the AEW supermarks, which is not a great way to start a conversation, and then went into a longer rant about the interview and all that sort of stuff, which I will get to in a bit. But first, Joe, let's talk about the interview with Tony Khan. Did you listen to it, and what were your thoughts with that? Because honestly, I thought it was an okay-ish interview. There were some parts that were a little weird and a little strange and a little interesting, but I thought all in all, Ariel did a pretty decent job trying to get some answers out of Tony, and Tony obviously deflected some of the bigger things that he, either couldn't answer or didn't want to answer or whatever. But the freak out afterwards is what will be the bigger topic. But first off, the interview itself. Did you listen to it, and what'd you think?
First of all, if you look at our chat, the AFI top 25 list.
Yeah, honestly, screw wrestling, man. Screw wrestling.
These people are fired up about that segment, Rich. There's debates going on. People
Holy
are
crap, I'm scrolling. Yeah, I was doing my little rant thing, man. I'm scrolling. Yeah, wow. All right, we've
this has gotten some action. We should just do a show on that. People really were into that. I mean, we've got names. See, we've got our regulars in the chat every week. We know they're going to be there, right? This is bringing out the lurkers.
There are some new people. Yeah, there's some new people I've never seen before. A little Michael Hammond, who's talking about Rita Hayworth, and yeah. I haven't seen him before, so welcome.
This guy he's like, to be fair, all of James Dean's movies are among the greatest movies of all time. Like, they're defending people we were ripping. Right. It's like Robert Coward over here. Chaplin has to be near the top. This is fantastic stuff.
Great, yeah.
This is what I love, though, too. Like, we couldn't think of La La Land. Somebody says it. Do 9 other people really need to say La La Land after
we
the
got
first
it. We got
says
it.
La La Land? Like, you know what I mean?
It wouldn't be the No-No chat room without us struggling for 10 seconds to remember something and then 19 people telling us what it is. So.
Then we get a minute straight of people typing in La La Land.
Right.
Like, someone said it already. You can relax.
But we love our no-dopes, though. We love our no-dopes.
We love the no-dopes chat room. It's fantastic stuff. So Helwani, here's the way I look at it. I had no problem with Helwani asking questions about Punk and the Elite and the suspensions. That's his job. That is what his job is to do for his audience. If Tony Khan doesn't want to answer those questions, that's on him. At that point, the heat's on Tony Khan. But if I'm conducting an interview with Tony Khan, I'm obviously asking those questions. It's up to Tony Khan or not whether he answers them. And then it's up to me how hard I want to push him and pester him and annoy him when it becomes obvious he's not going to answer them. But I have no problem with Helwani asking those questions. I have no problem with Helwani saying that it was the most frustrating and difficult interview of his career and saying that Tony Khan was evasive and didn't want to answer anything. Because Tony Khan was evasive and didn't want to answer anything. So I don't even have a problem with Helwani from that standpoint. Okay? Where I have a problem with Helwani, and you got to give me a second because I got to pull up a screenshot here. This is where Helwani goes wrong. Okay? He's on Twitter having a conversation with the Las Vegas Fight Shop account. And they're listeners, I think.
They are, yeah, long time listeners.
Anyway.
Good dudes too. I wanted to stop by, and I never have been able to. There was one time I was in Vegas. We were right there, but I couldn't go. We had too much stuff going on, so I let them know I was sorry because I was like, hey, I think I'm going to come in, like, want to say hi, give you a handshake, all that sort of stuff, and I wasn't able to go, so I had to apologize. But yeah, I think long-time listeners to the show. Really cool store from what I've seen. I never was able to go in person, but from what I see, a really, really cool store in Vegas. So
I was there the weekend I got married. He invited me down, and I went down, and then I went in there, and I was like, hey, it's Joe from Voices of Wrestling, and whoever was behind the counter was like, who? And I was like, all right.
Like, okay, I gotta go.
All right, yeah,
The most embarrassing thing in the world to hey, it's me, and they go, who are you? And you go,
Like, you know what? Get married in 45 minutes. I'll be seeing you later. You know what I mean? Right. Whoever, they weren't there. But anyway, he says, always a fan, Ariel, but I wonder why you didn't ask Triple H about the Vince McMahon allegations the same way you grilled Tony. Which obviously is a fair question, and we'll get into that. Helwani's response. Now, this is where, to me, Helwani goes wrong. I don't have a problem with him saying the interview was difficult.
No, I agree. Everything up until this, especially without the benefit, with no context, if it's just this guy doing an interview with Tony Khan, asking questions, not getting answers, being frustrated by it, all of that in a vacuum, no problem whatsoever. No problem whatsoever. There's a little bit of caveats, there's a little bit of context, but here you go. Yeah, explain it.
Helwani responds, if you think my grilling questions, which hardly were, are in the same ballpark as those questions, not to mention ignoring the fact that one guy is directly related to the questions while the other had nothing to do with them other than benefit, other than
take over the company from his father-in-law. But yeah, anyway.
I don't know what to say. So Las Vegas Fight Shop responds, fair enough. But you don't think Triple H being in the position he is now as a direct result isn't relevant? Obviously, it's pointless to ask because he won't be able to answer. And Helwani says, no. I asked about the change and all that. I think it's irresponsible and unfair to ask him about something he had absolutely nothing to do with. That wasn't his mess. Okay, this is where Helwani is completely out to lunch. Okay? Like I just said, if I were interviewing Tony Khan right now, I absolutely would ask about CM Punk, the Elite, and what's going on with that situation.
Absolutely. You have to.
And if you don't, every person listening to this should never listen to me again. If I had an interview with Tony Khan and I didn't ask that, because I'm doing my listeners, my customers, my subscribers a disservice if I don't ask those questions. Okay,
right? And in any normal industry as well, and we have talked about this a lot. We have talked about this, with the give and the take of the wrestling media. I mean, there's members of the wrestling media that are not very good at their jobs, that are really, really terrible at what they do. But wrestling itself is really terrible at what it does as well. It's still this closed, weird society. In no other industry would this thing happen and us not know anything for 6 weeks. Whether guys are suspended, what's happening, when are they coming back? Are they ever coming back? Are they fired? Is there a legal case involved? Who got hurt? Did anybody get hurt? Who else was there? We didn't know anything. The freaking Draymond Green thing with the Golden State Warriors, the news cycle on that was like 4 days. It was Draymond Green did something in practice. He got suspended. 12 hours later it was, he punched Jordan Poole, a fellow teammate. And then like 24 hours after that, we got a video of it, and then we got the Warriors getting out ahead of it and yada, yada, all that sort of stuff. They ended up not suspending him and whatnot, but like that whole news cycle was like 4 days for that thing to completely go from here to here, and everybody got asked about it, and they had to do something about it, and especially when the video came out, the players, the coaches, everybody had to talk about it. They couldn't just. But in wrestling, you can still kind of get away with going, kayfabe. No, there was a fight backstage, and guys got hurt, or guys are suspended, or guys are whatever. In no other industry would it be allowed for this to go on for 6 weeks and nobody know anything about it.
Well, listen, Ariel did ask him.
Oh, and I agree. No, and that's what I'm saying. Like, he should do it. Yeah.
Right. So similarly, if I were interviewing Paul Levesque right now, of course I would ask him about Vince McMahon.
Right, and that's
press him on it.
Yes, yeah. And Ariel, there's nothing wrong with Ariel's questioning towards Tony, but he's also interviewed, Nick Khan. He's also interviewed Triple H, and they were not questions like that. You were not lobbing.
Well, he's hiding behind this idea that wasn't Paul Levesque's crisis. Or
right.
that was
did you hear his analogy on Josh Nason?
He doubled down on the Josh Nason show. Okay, so he doubled down on what he said on Twitter. But Ariel, come on. This Triple H was no worse than the third or fourth most powerful person in the company when all this was happening. You can't say it's none of his concern or it wasn't his business. He didn't come from the outside. Oh, and by the way, he's his son-in-law.
That's the thing. He brought up the part where, I can't, if a coach took over for another coach, I couldn't ask the coach that took over about the old coach. Yes, you can. First off, yes, you can. And second off, if John, let's complete hypothetical here. Let's say John Thompson, legendary Georgetown coach, was in trouble for abusing players, right? Hypothetical, just throwing this out because it names I know. So he gets fired, and John Thompson Jr. takes over.
Yeah.
It's not right for you to say, hey, so your dad was abusing players, but how are you changing the culture? Are you going to, how did that make you feel? And Josh followed up, I think, great, when Ariel said, well, how should I ask the question or whatever? In a very kind of,
you've been doing this a decade.
Yeah, in kind of a shitty way, asking Josh, well, how would you? And I think Josh handled it well. He said, well, how did it make you feel when you found out that your father-in-law was doing, if we're under the assumption that Paul Levesque woke up one day and went, oh no, Dad, what?
Rich,
NDAs? What is going on?
Rich, I can give you 50 questions off the top of my head. Hey, Paul, did you know about it?
Right.
Hey, Paul, if you did know about it, when did you find out about it? Hey, Paul, this man's your father-in-law. Has it affected your relationship with him outside of wrestling? Hey, Paul, you took over this man's job. So how does that work? Hey, Paul, you were the third most powerful person in the company when all this was happening. Are you telling us, or you want to go on the record and tell us you didn't know this was going on? Hey, Paul, you had wrestlers that were directly under your supervision in NXT who were fired for similar accusations during the speaking out movement. How do you think that ties into your creepy father-in-law? Hey, I could go on forever. What do you mean? What question do you ask him? It's your job.
Yeah, especially that interview.
It has nothing to do with him.
Do you remember that interview? It was so like, Triple H, why are you so smart? Why are you just the best? Triple H, you're so smart and so talented. How do you do it all? It was the most. He says, "Oh, I didn't give him softballs." Oh, dude, come on. And
how about? Hey, Paul, now you're in charge. How can you guarantee that your company won't be rapey anymore?
Exactly. Yes. What are you doing to change the culture of your company that's been rampant with sexual assaults?
When your little corner of the company was rapey. How are you changing that?
Right.
How are you going to change that?
Oh, and also you had an abuse scandal on your watch in NXT as well with Bill DeMott. But, anyway.
How are you going to change that when Bill DeMott was putting his bare ass in wrestlers' faces under your leadership?
Right.
So now what changes are you going to make, Paul? I can ask endless questions to this man. And I would phrase them a little more professionally than I'm doing now.
Yeah,
but is this guy kidding me with what do you want me to ask him?
Right. And that's the core of the issue is that if you're going to be the softball question guy, and I think we even touched on this when those interviews came out, we said, all right, we know what Ariel's going to be now in the wrestling sphere because he's starting to do a lot more wrestling media. He's going to be, I do WWE interviews and I lob softballs to these guys. And if that's your lot in life, then that's fine. You could probably stop calling yourself a journalist, but if that's your lot in life and that's what you're going to be, that's fine. But then you cannot turn around and go to Tony and then demand that he answer your questions and that he not go away and all that and get upset about it if you're going to be the softball guy. You can be the softball guy or you can be the journalist. You can't be both, and you can't play one end where you're going to be the hard guy and then the other end where you're not, especially when you interview that guy in the wake of his, one of the most major story probably in pro wrestling history, and you can't bring it up because this guy, how was he involved? I don't know. His father
you didn't ask questions about the biggest story in the history of modern wrestling.
Right. That at the end of boil it down to that. You had the guy who's involved in the biggest story in wrestling history. You have his son who took over the company from that guy that's ran the company for decades upon decades, and you didn't ask him a question about it.
Hey, Paul, I've got a question. You've been an executive with this company for a decade. You've worked in this company for 25 years, and you're the guy's son-in-law. You didn't know any of this was going on? Go on record. There's a question. Is that one fair, Rich?
That's fair. You're probably getting a cut sign, but yeah, it's fair.
Is that a fair question? Is that the kind of question real media would ask? And when
Absolutely.
I say real media, non-wrestling media. I mean, come on. What do you mean? What am I supposed to ask him? Ariel. Now, look, I don't have anything against Ariel Helwani. And I actually, before I saw him doubling down on this stuff, I was going to defend him.
Yeah, I think he was right. I thought the interview was really, really good, and I was glad that he pressed Tony. More people need to press.
Didn't give him anything. He's right.
And more people need to press people in wrestling. They need to do that. We need more interviews like this.
But you can't sit here and pretend that you put a similar full court press on Triple H. And something else he said to Nason that really bugged me. He said, are people really going to equate the situations of, me asking Tony Khan how he felt about Cody and CM Punk and the Elite to sexual assault allegations? Yes. Ariel, and I'm going to tell you why.
One is actually worse.
Because they're both the biggest stories in each of those companies, and the first questions you need to ask both of the men who are running those companies. That's why you can equate them.
Hulk Matt brings up a great point in the No-No chat room as well. They fired Stephanie like 2 weeks prior to that. Hey, your wife got fired from the company and then rehired.
To be fair, they did go down that road.
Yeah.
To be fair. But not in the context that we're talking.
Right. Not in.
But they did discuss that. They did discuss how they were on their way to take some time at their fucking cabin in the woods somewhere when Stephanie got the call. And because I watched all these interviews.
Yeah, but not in, like I said.
Not in that context.
Again, it was done in a very, very much like, you've got this great opportunity. You and Stephanie just, have been gifted this wonderful opportunity to run this prestige organization. Well, why are they gifted the opportunity? Because their father had rampant sexual, deviant.
It's the Ariel Helwanis who get the opportunities to have these interviews, and then you leave out the most the topic that people want questions answered about the most with one guy, but then you don't do it with the other, and that's the disconnect that he doesn't seem to be understanding.
Right.
And I don't think that Ariel Helwani is devious. I don't think that he even necessarily is intentional in his actions here. I just think that, and here's the other thing too, and look, we've been on top of this for months, if not years, ever since Nick Khan has been around. We all know that Nick Khan was this man's agent, and I do believe he disclosed it in both interviews.
Yeah, he always does.
But that still doesn't mean there's not going to be an inherent bias.
Right.
And listen, okay, Nick Khan takes the job with WWE. And on top of everything else he brings to the table, having a reputation as being the best negotiator in sports media, having a reputation for being a corporate shark, and being a great hire, no matter what you think of him, he's done great things for that company. The other thing he brings to the table is his power within the sports media, because he was Ariel Helwani's agent. Why do you think Triple H's first interview, when he returned from his cardiac event, was with Stephen A. Smith, of all people, former Nick Khan client. Why do you think Colin Cowherd, who for years called wrestling fans booger eaters on the air, that was one of his bits. Why do you think when WWE landed on Fox and Nick Khan went to WWE, that Colin Cowherd did a complete 180 on pro wrestling, puts it over on his show, goes to SummerSlam and sits front row in Los Angeles and puts over pro wrestling all of a sudden? Because Nick Khan was his agent. Nick Khan represented a large portion of some of the most powerful people in sports media. And the ones that he didn't represent were represented by other people in his old agency, CAA. So he has connections to virtually every powerful person in sports media, which is very advantageous to WWE. Because all of these people, Ariel Helwani, Stephen A. Smith, Colin Cowherd, okay, they're all rich because of Nick Khan.
Right.
And they owe him that debt of gratitude, and they're fond of him because he made great deals for them. He made them rich men. And that's a factor here. So, and again, I really don't have anything against Ariel Helwani, but what it does make me question now is, all those years where he had beef with Dana White and the UFC. Rich, you really got to think, would he have really had those beefs if Dana White had hired Nick Khan? Is that really all it takes?
Right.
Because now the guy's doing voiceovers on WWE pay-per-views. And he is one of the soft landing spots when they want Paul Levesque or Nick Khan or, whoever else. Ariel's done a million of these interviews. Okay? He's one of the soft landing spots now. Why? Because he can't think of a question to ask about
the biggest wrestling story in history.
Man's president from the company.
Yeah.
Because, he can't think of a question. How about this question? Hey, Paul, Vince says it was just time to resign. Is he saying it had nothing to do with the allegations that are hanging over his head? How about that for a starter question? I mean, that's a very basic question that could kick off that whole line. But he's not going to do that. No. Because he's Nick Khan's boy, and he'll deny it, and maybe he'll hear this and get mad at us. That's okay. I don't think Ariel Helwani really cares. I don't think he cares, and I think it's good.
Well, I would say he doesn't.
Strikes me as someone who's Teflon.
I was going to say, normally I would say he doesn't care, but this week has indicated that he does care. A lot. Too much, probably.
Well, the Nason interview was scheduled ahead of time, to be fair. It's not like he decided I need to go on a media junket.
No. But he's been arguing with Twitter bozos nonstop, and they're arguing with everybody under the sun. He's arguing with Twitter people. He's arguing with AEW people, and then now he's arguing with LA Fight Shop and David Bixenspan. And it's like, all right, dude, like, come on, like, slow down. Like, I agree that he should just let this ride. Just say, hey, fuck it, I don't care. Like, say whatever you want about me. Like, it's just the way. And I will say the way that the interviews were presented, like the questioning and the content of the interviews, I think were okay. I would say he did start out the interview, and I don't know if you noticed this, by saying, hey, Tony, I don't think you really like me. And, like, terrible way to start an interview, by the way. To say, hey, you already start things contentious by alluding to the fact that, hey, I don't think that you like me. Like, it's a very weird. And he continued to say that. Like, later he said, I don't feel like Tony Khan trusts me, yada, yada, all that sort of stuff. Then also.
And he pulled back the curtain by saying that it was really hard to book Tony Khan.
Right.
Which immediately, if you're Tony Khan, and I'm not saying this is how he felt, but immediately, if you're the guest, you're on the defensive. You're like, "Holy shit! Why is he outing this?
Right?
Why is he making me? Why is he making me look like an asshole?"
Right, and that's what I mean. It's a horrible way, a horrific way. And I think Ariel Helwani is a good journalist, and I think he's a good interviewer. This was not. I think ultimately it was probably not his best performance, and he would probably tell you that too, as he says, a frustrating interview, all that sort of stuff. But I don't. He started it with a very contentious from the get go. And if you don't want to interview the guy, if you think look, the guy's not doing an interview if he hates you. Let's be honest. Tony Khan is not interviewing you if he fucking hates you. He's there because he wants to be interviewed, because he's doing your thing or whatever it may be. So starting it off as contentious as that was, hey, it was hard to book you, and I know you don't really like me. It's just a horrific. I mean, it just already gets things off on the wrong foot, and it, like you said, it puts the interviewee on the defensive already. saying, "Oh, well, she's okay. Wow, all right. Well, now I already have to start defending myself as this interview is going on," and it puts the gates up and it puts the guards up to maybe say, "You know what? No, I was going to tell you this, and this, but now I'm not going to tell you that because it's a horrific way to start the interview,
even if it was meant as playful."
Right? Exactly. Yeah, but
right.
I think we probably know it was a little bit A, a little bit of B,
a little ribbon on the square.
Yeah, right. But then and then also starting the, hey, I'm going to talk about this interview by saying I'm going to piss off the AEW supermarks. It's like, all right, dude. Now, see, you're digging your own grave now, man. Like, calm down. You don't have to do this.
The AEW freakazoids.
The freakazoids. Yeah, like, and then the kicker at the end of the thing where he says, quote, "If you're saying right now with a straight face that the AEW product is better than the WWE product, you're just a liar. You're an absolute liar. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. The WWE product is infinitely better, infinitely more interesting, and there's a freaking brawl happening backstage each and every week, it seems. Meanwhile, it's all kumbaya on the Stanford side of things. Like, if you're going to be a super fan, be a super fan, but also tell it like it is." 6 months ago, that wasn't the case. But right this second, if you're going to sit here and say that it's a better product, you're an absolute liar.
You know what? I don't have a problem with that. That's his opinion. I vehemently disagree. It's funny because I think the complete opposite. I think the AEW product smokes the WWE. I write about it. I just wrote about it today. I write about it and talk about it every week. Again, that's his opinion. I think he's crazy. He just has a different taste in wrestling clearly than I do.
Is this an opinion, though, if he says if you're an absolute liar if you think that AEW is better?
Well, you know what? It's a strong opinion, but I'm not one to talk. I'm not one to talk. I've been known to phrase things certain ways as well.
All right,
but it's
in absolutes. Yeah, it's a lot of absolutes in an opinion. That's all I'll say.
But, it's like, there's a slight difference. It's what we do here is more like punditry, and I'm not trying to, and he is passing himself off as a journalist. So I think if you want to have a problem with the way he framed his preference for the WWE product from that standpoint, you can. Me personally, while I totally disagree with him, I can't kill the guy for having an opinion over which one he thinks is better. Now, do I think he's needling the AEW fans a little bit with the way he phrased that and calling them freakazoids and all of this? I think he is. And at that point, you can't complain if they come at you.
And that's what I mean. And then at that point, you're kind of giving up a lot of your journalistic integrity by then being a shit stirrer and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if you're having fun with them and trying to stir them up, well, then you're going to...
that's fine. And again, like, look, it's this show telling you we're not going to say that... Yeah,
I may have done that once or twice.
At once or 3 or 4 times I've counted in the history of the 10 years.
Rich, I did it today. Did anyone read my Dynamite review today? I mean,
there's a lot of shit stirring going on, but then you kind of, I can't then take you.
Yeah, then you can't sit here and tell me that I was a fair and equal journalist.
Right, exactly. And that's fine. Like, I don't care, but you got to pick. And it's like I said, I don't care. You just have to pick a lane. You can't be the straight-laced journalist that's going to get to the bottom of these big-time stories and then not ask Paul Levesque about his father and the rampant sexual abuse going on in the company. You can't be, if you're going to be the softball guy, then you can't be, needling Tony Khan. Well, you got to tell me about the all-out fight. What's going on with the fight? What's going on?
Yeah. How about just asking Paul why his father-in-law resigned?
Right.
How about just asking that basic, simple question and getting Paul Levesque to go on record with an answer? How about that? That's an opportunity to get the most powerful person in wrestling, which is what Paul Levesque is, to go on record with an answer as to why his father-in-law resigned, and you're not even bringing up the scandal. You're not even using the words sexual misconduct, sexual abuse, inappropriate relationship. Paul, Vince McMahon on 3 weeks ago, whatever it was, 3 months ago, resigned. It seemed abrupt. He's your father-in-law. He was your boss for 25 years. Why did he resign? Is that not a fair question, Rich Craich?
It'd be, yeah. You let Triple H say whatever he wants to say. Yeah, let him dig his hole. Let him hang himself. Let him bury.
Because you know what? He makes the money. He makes the money. He's in charge. He wants the responsibility. He's the most powerful person in wrestling. He can answer the uncomfortable question. And you can let him figure out how to worm his way out of it. And then you follow up if he feeds you some bullshit. Ariel, that's what a journalist does. And I don't have a degree. You have one. You can't sit here and tell Las Vegas Fight Shop and Josh Nason, what am I supposed to ask him? Call me next time. I'll tell you what to ask. I mean, this is not hard. You ask the obvious questions. And then you press them and you make them uncomfortable. But Rich, this is a waste of our breath. He's Nick Khan's boy. He's doing voiceovers. He's not going to do that.
Right.
Not going to do that. And that's where he went wrong. We wouldn't even be discussing this topic if he didn't double down on Twitter and with Nason and defend not asking Paul those questions. I doubt we'd even be talking.
Oh, we wouldn't. No. And actually, it'd probably be the opposite. Like my initial notes about this entire thing were, I think this is a good interview, and I think it's good that he pressed Tony and tried to get answers out of this, because that's what you're supposed to do, is get answers out of these things and figure these things out. And why has it been 6 weeks since this thing? We have no earthly idea who's doing what the status of the title. You introduce new titles and the champions have just disappeared. Are they suspended? Are they ever coming back? What's going on with CM Punk? What's going on with these? Like, no, it's been 6 weeks, and you do have to press him about that. I think you do have to discuss the MJF contract situation, because that was kind of fought in public. Was that, part of the story? Was that actual true, real life or whatever? Even the question about Cody Rhodes, like even saying, hey, how did it make you feel that Cody was one of the guys that started the company with you, and there he is on WWE television? How does that make you feel? I have no problems whatsoever with any of those questionings, the line of questioning, the way he did it. I do have a problem with the fact that he didn't do it on the other side, and then that he said, well, what do I, those interviews were great. Everybody liked those interviews. What was I supposed to say? It's like, all right.
It's a joke. Paul Levesque has never been forced to go on record about this, and this guy had a crack at him, and he blew it.
Yep.
That's what the problem here is, and this is what Helwani doesn't seem to understand. That because of the way wrestling is and the way wrestling journalism is and how it's this closed society, he is in a unique position of getting a crack at these guys. And he had a chance to make Paul Levesque answer that question. And he shit the bed. And he's making excuses as to why he didn't. Come on, man. Come on. Does anyone have any doubts that if given the opportunity, Ariel Helwani would ask Dana White questions about sexual misconduct in the UFC? Of course he would. Why didn't he do it here? We all know the answer. That's all.
Yeah.
It's okay. We know where you stand now.
Yeah,
you
can
go do your go do your pay-per-view pre-show panel shows again. Go ahead, because we know where you stand now. So that's all. Keep doubling down. It's it doesn't matter at this point, because now we all know. The cloak is down, the mask is off. We know where you stand. So you'll do Nick Khan's bidding. That's okay. You're Nick Khan's buddy. I get it.
That's fine. And there we go. Yeah. And like I said, if you're going to be the softball guy, that's cool. I'm fine with that. Be the softball guy then. They're very easy to consume interviews. You know what I mean? Like the one with Triple H, everybody was like, oh, well, yeah, you really, and it's the same shit that we got with like the, whatever. I thought he asked Triple H some good questions. I thought that interview was pretty decent. I mean, he framed listen, it wasn't Walter Cronkite, but it was, in a vacuum, it was a decent interview. But then on the flip side, when you get Tony, then the tone is completely different. He had two very different tones of those interviews. I thought I agree with you that the Triple H interview was good before I listened to the Tony interview, and I went, whoa, why didn't you do the Tony interview with Triple H? There's the two different interviews. They're two different interview styles. They're two different interview approaches. One was, whoa, okay, you're trying to get to the bottom of some real stories here. And the other one, was he asking decent questions and having good back and forth? Yes, but at the end of the day, the tone of the interview was, why are you so great? And oh my God, what a great opportunity you have now to run this company.
I think he may have been intimidated by Triple H to some extent.
I'm sure he was. Well,
they put him in.
He's employed by BT Sport. I mean, that's, Yeah.
Well, he made clear that he no longer is employed by BT Sport. So we should probably mention that as well. Okay. But, they conduct the interview in a $5,000 a night hotel room, and Triple H shows up. Probably, in a limo with an entourage, and
10 minutes late. 10 minutes late too, I'm sure.
Super professional setting, and he's the most powerful man in wrestling. And Ariel Helwani probably grew up fucking spitting water out of his mouth like Triple H as a fan and all of those things. And Tony Khan is on a gaming headset backstage.
Right.
Looking
like Tony Khan.
Affable, I'm not even ripping him, just affable Tony Khan, just normal, coming across. Okay, guy can buy and sell me, you, Ariel, or Triple H, but he's still affable Tony Khan, and he comes across like, and I think there's less of an intimidation factor there, and there's also less of a connection, both professionally and with, and through Nick Khan and your professional connect, and all of those things I think play a factor, and I think he probably respects Tony Khan a little less for a lot of those reasons too. And this is all speculation now. But I think all of those things, might play a part. And as far as Tony goes, I think he's overexposed on these interviews. I mean, I understand why he does them all, but every time you turn around, he's doing an interview, and he's mastered the art of saying nothing to the point now where he will just literally say nothing. He'll just literally say, I can't answer that. He doesn't even dance around the questions anymore. He just tells you he's not going to answer them. He's become exceedingly more tight-lipped, and that he can do that. It's a private company. It's not publicly traded or anything like that. If he doesn't want to answer questions in interviews, if he doesn't want to answer questions from media privately, he's well within his rights to no sell questions, no sell people. That's fine. But it's and again, I don't think Helwani was wrong. I did think it was Khan did stonewall him a lot in that interview and give him nothing. I think Khan was putting the screws to Helwani a little bit too, and fucking with him. I mean, he made Helwani read the Barstool tweets that were putting down Nick Khan. He had Helwani read that entire exchange. Because he knows the relationship with Helwani and Nick Khan. So, that was kind of like Tony throwing his muscle around. Tony ate him up, let's be honest. And that's why it's part of the reason Helwani's not happy with the interview, because he knows that Tony ate him up. So, but again, we wouldn't be talking about this if he didn't double down on the Triple H stuff.
Yeah.
He did a shitty job with Triple H. He didn't show any guts, okay? That's the bottom line. He didn't show any guts with Triple H. He did a terrible job. He had a golden opportunity that any of us would have loved to have, and you blew it. That's the bottom line.
So there you go. That is the Ariel Helwani stuff. We'll see if anything new comes of that in the next weeks and months, or if this kind of blows over and ends up being just a little notes in history. But interesting stuff going on there. Let's since we're talking about WWE, let's get into Extreme Rules, the premium live event from this past weekend. We'll start off first with the major story, I think, out of the event, the return of Bray Wyatt. And we kind of laughed about it a little bit earlier, that it was just hilarious to see people getting so into the QR codes and the hints. And from day one, we knew it was White Rabbit and that it was Bray Wyatt. Like, you know what I mean? There was no mystery. The only intrigue was, when is he going to come back? And the intrigue, I'll give WWE all the credit in the world on the intrigue. They popped a lot of ratings with the idea that, hey, Bray Wyatt might be appearing on this show. He might be appearing on this show. He might be on this show. He might be on this show. Eventually, then, people just figured out, okay, he's going to appear on Extreme Rules. And you saw the ratings reflect that when people realized, okay, he's not showing up at SmackDown and he's not showing up on Raw, he's showing up on Extreme Rules, you saw the numbers kind of go back to what they normally were, because people were tuning in to see the return of Bray Wyatt. And then when they knew that it was going to happen at Extreme Rules, they went away for a little bit on SmackDown or whatever and Raw, and then they got back in. And we saw it this week on Monday Night Raw. The rating was very good because people, again, were hoping to see Bray Wyatt. Now, WWE did not give them Bray Wyatt. They gave them a video of Bray Wyatt from the night prior, which is a little, or 2 nights prior or whatever, which is a little, I don't know.
To be fair, they never said he was going to be on Raw.
They did.
They did strongly hint at the 9:37 thing on SmackDown. To me, that was a bait and switch, because then nothing happened. He didn't appear. And you're right, Bray has now popped 2 ratings without even appearing. The one SmackDown rating for that big quarter hour, which elevated the whole show, and then this week's Raw, where people were hoping to see him coming off the pay-per-view. They announced him for SmackDown, and I expect tomorrow's SmackDown to do a big number as well. I followed Bray Wyatt while he was with the company, and he never really was a ratings mover. There was a short period of time where he was, and then because whether you want to blame the booking or his performances or the over-the-topness of the gimmick, he ceased being a draw. He really did. These are like the two best numbers Bray Wyatt has ever pulled. And
yeah, it's pretty remarkable because when he was a regular performer, like he wasn't drawing business this way. He wasn't.
No, he was not.
He was not moving ratings this way.
People talk about the merch sales and all that, and that's fine. And at the time, even I remember on this show, I was saying people talk about merch sales. I almost feel like that's just shit people say when they're backed into a corner and don't have anything else to point to. Right? They'll say, oh, well, he sells a lot of merch. Well, I don't remember whether this was to the Voices of Wrestling Twitter account or to my personal account. So I don't know. But I did have someone through an intermediary, a person that works in the WWE office, okay, who listens to this show, heard that segment.
I think it was through the official account. I remember this.
So you remember? Okay.
Yeah.
And then through an intermediary, who we won't name that person because it'll out that they have this source, told us, no, it's true. Bray sells a shit ton of merch.
Yeah.
And for a while, so okay, fine. So he sold T-shirts, he sold merch, but he really was never a ratings mover. He's a ratings mover now. They fire the guy. He's been gone for a year, and that may have been the best thing that ever happened to him in terms of reigniting his star power, because he did pop the Smackdown, he did pop the Raw. But like you said, when he didn't show up on the Smackdown, the following Raw was the shits. That was the first one against Monday Night Football, the first or second one against Monday Night Football, which really tanked. And to a larger degree than it should have versus the football. And to a larger degree than it did the year before under Vince. And then the following Smackdown went right back to normal numbers. Because people were like, all right, well, we know he's going to be in Extreme Rules now. Right? So I think the Smackdown will do a good number Friday because they did announce him for the show. But yeah, it's crazy. Like, this has kind of reignited. There's no question that the core WWE fan base is super excited for the return of Bray Wyatt. There's no doubt about it.
So the segment on Extreme Rules, if you did not see it, Matt Riddle and Seth Rollins finished their fight pit match, which we'll talk about when we review Extreme Rules. Riddle got about 5 seconds to celebrate, and then the lights went out, and then the fucking dinosaur and the vulture and the pig showed up in the crowd. A fiend showed up ringside. A mask appeared on the table, and Michael Cole had to go, like stand up and go, oh, my God, it's so dorky. And then Bray appeared, and he had a lantern, and he had a mask, and he took it off, and then people went, yeah, and then it was over.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it did nothing for me.
Yeah, this is not the show. If you were licking your chops going, oh man, I can't wait to see these guys get real excited about the Bray Wyatt return. Wrong show. I've been done with Bray Wyatt since about 2014. I think I've kind of been over it. That's been very clear on this show that we are not Bray Wyatt fans at all.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that has driven me away from WWE. I mean, this is not for me. Now, it got an enormous pop. Their fan base is eating this shit up. They ate up the stupid QR codes and all that nonsense. It's fucking Chikara scavenger hunts, which really wasn't a scavenger hunt. It was just telling you.
It's the best part about all this is that you had people writing articles. All right, so we know it's Bray Wyatt. He's coming to Extreme Rules.
Yeah,
we got it.
No mystery to unwind.
We have it. We got it. Thank you. We don't need an article about this. We don't need you uncovering these mysteries. It's Bray Wyatt. He's the White Rabbit, and he's coming to Extreme Rules. We got it.
It may have been creative and cool if it was a series of clues that led you to that. But everyone immediately knew it was Bray Wyatt, so then what the fuck was, like, why is it exciting after that? To get another clue that tells you it is, in fact, still Bray Wyatt. I don't understand it, but it's like... It's weird. Do we piss in other people's cornflakes for this? Obviously,
usually we do. We did that when they were doing the cinematic matches, and people were saying, the alligator represents," and we were just like, "Shut up, go."
Yeah, I just want to watch wrestling.
John Cena is actually representing the metamorphosis of heel John. I don't care.
So you got these weird guys in costumes all over the arena, and it's like,
yeah, there's a fucking dinosaur and a vulture, and we were like, "Oh wow, okay, cool."
I mean, people forget. I mean, he's a dirty swamp wizard that's going to come out with his lantern and have 2-star matches. I mean,
right. At the end of the day, I'm weird like that. I just like wrestling, so when I watch wrestling, I like watching wrestling, and this guy's not a good wrestler. So
Well, Rich, there's this idea. See, this is what's crazy to me. There's this idea that the Fiend is no more. And that he's going to be Bray Wyatt, lantern-carrying fucking cult leader. If that's the case, what the fuck is the point? Isn't the whole point to bringing this guy back and hiring a fucking director of lore and all of this other shit? Isn't the whole point to go back to doing all of the magic and fucking nonsense that they were doing with the Fiend before? Why do people think the Fiend? I think people are going to be disappointed because I think the Fiend is definitely coming back. Why else would you rehire this guy?
Right. Well, I think, and you got to remember that Bray Wyatt was doing magic and bullshit even before he was the Fiend. I think a lot of people forget that he was...
Yeah, the Randy Orton match with the maggots on the mat.
Yeah, he did maggots. Shit. He was making explosions happen and stuff. Like, I think you can go back to that if you really need to. If you want to go back to Bray Wyatt, the dirty swamp wizard or whatever, you can do that. And it can be some of the magic and all this sort of stuff without being full-on Fiend, which... maybe for some people was a little too much, but again, people ate that shit up at the time. Like, it didn't affect ratings at all, but man, people, the merch wise, like you were just talking about, and then like discussion wise, people seem to like that stuff. And I'm with you that if he comes back as cult leader Bray Wyatt, like, I think a lot of people are going to kind of expect him to be, because at the end of the day, there's not much legs to that. Because he's going to wrestle, like you said, he's going to go out there and wrestle, mediocre matches, and it's like, all right, well, there's not much for that, but he's gonna have to still be a magician and a wizard and
otherwise,
and magic.
What's the point?
Yeah, right. He's not going back to NXT Bray Wyatt. That's not happening.
Yeah, why would you just bring this guy back as another wrestler on the roster? Like, he has to, and we've already seen, like, he had these fucking characters all over the building in Extreme Rules, and he's doing this. I think, it's just this weird thing. And here's the other thing too, kind of like when he got cut, the excuse a lot of people were making was, well, Vince McMahon ruined the Fiend because Vince had all these wacky ideas and that's why the Fiend, a lot of the Fiend stuff.
Wyndham Rotunda, who was just saying, hey, I just want to go out there and wrestle,
Hey,
Vince, as much as I would love blood to pour from Alexa's head, how about I just go out there and have a 15-minute match,
Listen, I think people were crazy then, and I think we're going to be proven right.
Absolutely, we're right now. No, we're not going to be proven. We're right. You think?
Yeah, he's already doing it.
Follow this guy's fucking Twitter account. You think that this guy's sitting there, watching, 1989 WCW and taking notes and going, yeah, here we go. No, he's doing. The director of lore has been hired to infiltrate this shit. Yeah,
they hired a legitimate director of lore. Okay, that's not his title, but that's what he is. The guy comes from the comic book world, which already is an eye roll from me. What do you think they're going to do? Write out old Mid-South storylines? The guy's going to do his fucking hocus pocus bullshit.
Right.
He's going to be the Fiend. I mean, and there's a lot of people convinced that that's dead and gone, and that was all Vince's fault. Wait a minute. First of all, I thought you all liked that stuff. Right?
It's one of these things where Vince goes and it's like, this show is really improving. It's like, man, you told me it was good before. Yeah. It's the same thing. When Wyatt got fired, it was like, it all went off the rails. Vince is a maniac. Vince is crazy. And it's like, you all liked it.
Rich, we were getting death threats for making fun of the Alexa Bliss stuff because they were presenting her as childlike.
Yes.
Remember Reddit was giving us death threats because, in real time, these people loved the Alexa Bliss stuff. They loved the Firefly Funhouse. They loved the box-like structure. Then Vince cuts the guy, and then they say all that shit sucked and it was all Vince's fault. This is how this guy thinks. Bray Wyatt is a dumb person's idea of a genius. And these are all his stupid ideas, and they're all coming back. And they hired a director of lore to help him with it. It's only going to get worse. I still stand firm with my belief that Vince was reining it in.
Yes.
I think Vince was reining this shit in.
I think Vince hated it. Yeah, I can only imagine the ideas that Wyndham had or whatever. And
yes, that got turned down.
Yeah, and I'm on the same, because the second that he could get rid of this guy, he got rid of him, which probably made you think that he had this list, this fucking notebook full of shit. And just like, God damn it, get rid of him.
Yes.
I'm sick of this shit. Like, I'm sure there's parts of him that he liked and there's things that he liked, but I think at the end of the day, he also probably turned down a lot of wild and crazy shit that he didn't want. Because
the guy's crazy. Bray Wyatt's a crazy person. He's nuts. Okay, none of it ever makes sense. Okay, I'm convinced that Vince was reining in it. And I think, like you're saying, the first opportunity, this guy doesn't draw ratings. He is the literal eater of worlds because anybody who feuds with him is dead.
He destroys characters left and right, yeah.
Okay, and the second his merch sales started to tick downward, I think Vince said, why am I paying this guy 7 figures?
Right. Angry 216 in the no-dope chat room brings up a great point. Remember, there was the idea of, okay, we're building up Bray, we're building up The Fiend, and the second he had the opportunity, he had Goldberg destroy the guy and beat his ass in minutes.
Yes.
Which we stood up and applauded. We were like, Vince McMahon is a genius. Yes.
Yeah.
One of our favorite matches of that entire weird WrestleMania was Goldberg just fucking destroying The Fiend.
Wasn't that a Saudi show?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But no, I think you're getting full on fucking magical, dirty swamp wizard fiend guy. I think you're getting that because that's what these people want.
Mm-hmm.
The base wants that. And I think the people who think you're just going to get Bray Wyatt with his dopey lantern are going to be very disappointed when he's pulling magic acts and lights are going out and he's disappearing and blood's coming out of people's heads. And, Alexa Bliss is suddenly a child again on a swing and all of this other bullshit they were doing before. It's funny because Seth Rollins, I don't know if you saw this, Rich.
Oh, I did see this quote.
So let me tell the listeners.
Yeah.
He went on record in an official, like a real interview and said that the problem with Bray Wyatt was that anybody who was put in a program with Bray Wyatt came out colder on the other end. I mean, this guy was a liability for a while. I don't care how many T-shirts and fucking weird fucking title belts the guy sold. He was a liability. He destroyed Seth Rollins' babyface run. And Seth Rollins hasn't recovered to this day. He's still working as a heel. And he's starting to come around. People are starting to sing along with his song and all that. And I'm sure he'll be a babyface again shortly. But that completely derailed Seth Rollins' career. And he went on record saying that. Because that was the truth. So, I mean, I think this guy stinks. I think he's more trouble than he's worth with his stupid ideas. I think hiring a fucking director of lore to work with this guy is just asking for more fucking hokey bullshit. But it appears as though, at least in the short term, this guy's going to be a draw.
Yeah. I'm very curious how he actually draws now that he's here and what. Because
it'll draw big this week.
Yeah, oh no, for sure. It will.
Yeah.
But will it be diminishing returns, or have they legitimately taken this guy away for long enough that people really did miss him and now people are all in and because they have an opportunity and they do. And I'm being completely honest with this. Like looking at those numbers were shocking that the mere idea that this guy is coming back popped a lot of big numbers. So there might be, they might have struck on something here and he might be, it's never going to be for me. I'm never going to enjoy it. I'm not going to like it, but there's a real chance that they maybe have struck something with this guy and maybe it sustains. And that's going to be the most interesting thing to find out. Does it sustain? Can it keep going? Or is it just, okay, now he's here and the bell rings and oh wait, right, it's Bray Wyatt and he's not very good at wrestling. Okay.
Remember the Fox executives on the Fox debut with all the picture and
the picture of those guys just looking at each other like,
what the fuck did we buy?
Yeah, what is this shit? How much did we spend?
What is this garbage?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, look, it's not for me, it's not for you, it's not for most of the people listening to us. It has energized their fan base. I am just highly skeptical that it can sustain because it didn't last time. I think there's excitement because he's coming back. I think it's, the fan base perceives it as Triple H righting a wrong and all of those sorts of things. But I have real concerns about giving this guy creative freedom because I don't think it gets toned down. I think it gets wackier. I really do. And that's hard to imagine because... And then we can move on and talk about the show itself, I guess, unless you have any other Bray points.
Nah, I got nothing.
But because I'm on record, I truly, firmly believe this, and I understand the magnitude of the statement and the ground it covers. Bray Wyatt / The Fiend is the worst gimmick in the history of professional wrestling. It's horrible. It's unwatchable. It's so bad that it's beyond the pale, and it almost comes full circle to, it's just the worst thing I've ever seen in pro wrestling.
No, it broke us. Yeah, go back and listen to those shows. There were several times where we were like, what are we watching? Like, why am I watching this? What am I doing? And I told that story that one time there was, I think it was the Bray Wyatt, Dean Ambrose, like cage Hell in a Cell or something like that. And I was over at the nurse's parents' house watching this, and I'm just watching this, and my eyes are glazing over, and her dad looks at me and goes, "This is the stuff you watch? Like, this is what your podcast is about?"
It's
and I was like, "No, it's not. Like, it's not. Like, I mean, it is, but it's not. Like, it was like." Just thinking, why let my daughter marry this guy? Like, you know,
yeah,
and this is what he watches, and I was like, no, it's not. I know, no, I don't. I think it sucks too. I assure you, I think it sucks. Like, but I get it. It's like one of those. We always said it's like the Fiend is on your screen, Bray Wyatt's on your screen, and you just hope and pray that nobody walks in.
Yeah.
That your wife doesn't walk in, that you're not watching in front of other people, that you haven't invited people over to your house to watch it. Like, you just want to watch it in your own time and just hope that nobody knows that you did this. And I just like wrestling. I want guys to wrestle. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, wrestling's humiliating enough.
Yeah, right.
I don't need someone who respects me to walk in on me while the Fiend is coming out of a box-like structure. It's awful.
Female servant thing is on a swing laughing while blood's pouring down her head. It's like, what are we doing?
His childlike girlfriend. I just have nothing in common with people who enjoy that, and it's like, I'm not necessarily taking shots at people who enjoy that, but I have nothing in common with some. And I will say this, I'm glad that the new Paul Levesque era of WWE has not successfully brought me back in, because as anyone who reads my writing over the last couple of months knows, I'm like a broken record at this point, and I swear I'm not going to review Raw and SmackDown anymore because I'm tired of saying the same things. It's not going to change. It is what it is. They're dull shows. They're very boring, dull, and uninteresting shows that aren't all that much different from Vince's shows, and they haven't roped me back in. I don't think the shows are any good, and I'm glad, because had they successfully roped me back in and had they been creating a compelling wrestling product that I was enjoying, this Bray Wyatt stuff would completely throw that all. I'd be out again. It would push me back out.
Right.
I have absolutely zero use for this.
No, I'm with you.
It's a total turnoff, and it was actually disheartening. I saw Dave Meltzer say that Tony Khan had a deal in place with this guy for one of the Rochester Dynamites, and it just didn't happen.
Oh,
now
Tony,
I would have been out on AEW if Bray Wyatt came in and did all the magic tricks. And if he's not doing the magic tricks again, why are you bringing him in?
Yeah, I'm kind of out on him anyway, because he's just not a good wrestler.
Well, the thing about Bray Wyatt is that's the only thing he brings to the table that makes him unique is all of the bullshit that we hate. Like, there's no point in bringing him in if he's just going to be a wrestler, because there's nothing there. So if Tony was going to bring him in, we have to presume he'd be allowed to do his bullshit. I mean, Tony nipped the Matt Hardy stuff in the bud. Tony hasn't let Malachi Black go over the top. But
then it's just a bad deal. But then you're just paying a lot of money for a guy who's not a good wrestler.
For someone who's not going to make any difference because he can't do the only thing that makes him stand out.
Right.
Because even though we don't like it, it's the only thing that makes this guy stand out, is that he's a dumb person's idea of a genius. You take that away and there's like nothing left. So I don't know. Was that like a one-night deal just because it was, Brody's hometown? I don't know, because that's all Dave said. I think it was a tweet. But that's so we can thank Triple H for bringing it.
Thank you, Paul. I'll be honest. I'm loving the Paul Levesque era of WWE. Not because I'm watching the shows, because I did watch them and I don't really like them that much. But I love that he's quarantining. I think that's a quote that I saw Jordan Smith in the note of chat room said. He's quarantining all the acts I don't want to see on shows that I don't want to watch. It's perfect. Sign Karrion Kross, great. The only person that he's signed so far that I'm like, damn, is Dakota Kai. That's the only person where I'm like, shoot, I'd like to see Dakota Kai on another show. You can have Karrion Kross. You can have Bray Wyatt. The Good Brothers, thank you. Keep the hits coming, Paul.
We'll talk about that later.
Paul he's batting 1,000 on bringing in guys that I have no fucking interest in ever seeing again, and he's putting them all in shows that I really don't have an interest in watching. So it's win-win, I'll be honest.
He's lucky Create Your Narrative fell apart because he had Braun Strowman fall in his lap. So
control your narrative, sir, not create.
Whatever.
Control. Braun Strowman, another great example. Good.
Exactly. Yeah. Bring them all, collect them all.
Yep.
and collect them all. Like
perfect,
like
great job, man. Way to go.
Hit Row.
Not that I was watching Hit Row on anything because I didn't get booked for anything, but you know what I mean. Like it's
couldn't get booked. But yeah, listen, bring them in just in case someone might think about booking them. Right. Bring them in. And man, those guys just dropped off the planet. I mean, they don't even, did you know they're on the Smackdown brand, Rich?
I haven't gone. I'm not nuts enough to actually watch Smackdown. I did watch the Raw this week, so we'll talk.
Oh, you did? So what'd you think of the new improved Triple H era?
It sucks.
Am I crazy when I say
no? You're not crazy. Joke? I think I'm. So I have now addressed that maybe I am crazy in this, and I think I mentioned this. If you recall earlier this year, I think it was Hell in a Cell that I heard Hell in a Cell was this great show, and I was like, all right, cool. And I watched it, and I felt nothing. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. The Cody stuff was like, all right, yeah, he's hurt and he's wrestling. I had no feelings about it. And that, I think I even said it on the show. I think that officially was my moment where it's like, all right, maybe I just emotionally completely have disconnected from this company and can never reconnect again. Like, it will just never click again with me. And maybe that's what's happening because I watched this Raw and I was just like, this fucking stinks and I don't want to watch this ever again. And I turned it off and it was done.
My reviews all make more sense now?
They do. And I'm like, are we nuts? And I'm now just admitting to the fact that maybe you and I are just nuts and this is just not the company for us and that's fine and that's okay. It's whatever. I feel like we should be able to say these things suck if we think they suck, but people get mad about it. No, it's good, actually. It's new and it's improved. And I watched it. It was the same bullshit that Vince McMahon did. Just with 8 more minutes on the matches. Cool. All right. This is great. Like, I watched the fucking Miz segment and I was like, this is a Vince McMahon segment. This, the ball jokes and Dexter Loomis and getting kicked into a cake. And I'm like, this is the new and improved thing. And there's a bunch of fake crowd noise. And I'm just like, what the fuck is all this? This still stinks. So if this is the new and improved, then I'm out. And you know what? If you enjoy it, go on and enjoy it, but not for me.
Even the booking goes nowhere. Damage Control.
Oh, Damage Control. Oh, they need. Speaking of Damage Control, Jesus
total
Christ.
Flop, by the way.
Yeah.
Total flop. Do you remember the excitement around their return at SummerSlam? And it was like, this is, we're like, this is new and fresh. And Io Sky is back, and Dakota Kai is back, and Bayley's back. Total flop. This is now the third Raw in a row, I think, where the big Damage Control versus, Bianca or someone from Bianca's group has completely sunk a quarter hour, including the main event 2 weeks ago when it was Io Sky versus whoever it is she wrestled. Nobody fucking cares. This Triple H, he is, he's there's nothing going on these shows.
There's really nothing. Yeah, there's no stories.
Everyone's running in place. Gargano's doing 50-50. He'll lose to fucking Otis and then beat Gable. Damage Control is a total flop because they're in this endless feud with Bianca and the babyfaces where it's just...
Hey, it's me, your Uncle Cooper. Sorry to interrupt your music. I do love music, especially when it's set at a reasonable volume. Music is really only as good as your speakers. The same is true for minivans. A minivan is only as good as the tires it sits on. And the button on the screen there, it agrees with me. If you click on it, it'll bring you to all the Cooper minivan tires that'll make your minivan a really good minivan. Go with the Coopers! Cooper!
The same shit every week. The Bloodline feud has been the same shit for 2 years. Rich, you're never going to believe this, but Jey Uso let Roman down again.
No, I couldn't believe it. I saw a clip. I saw a clip of that, and I thought it was in a time warp or whatever, because it's like, are you part of the family or are you not part of the family? Like, I thought we did this already. We're doing this again? We're doing that? You're not a part of... Hey, you're not being oos enough, oos. It's like, oh my God. All right.
Get the job done tonight. And then Roman leaves in the limo, and poor Jey has to get the fucking
Wasn't it
job.
Jey before, too?
I don't fucking know.
Or was it Jimmy before? I don't know.
I don't know who Nobody's Bitch and who fucking the other one was. I don't know.
Right.
But it's the same story over and over. Now with a little sprinkle of Sami Zayn for some comedy relief.
Right.
That's the only difference.
Paul's holding a title and quivering as usual.
It's the same goddamn story for 2.5 years.
They have left the Marriott lobby though, so they're no longer in the the executive suite of the Marriott, of the airport Marriott.
With a 3-day-old USA Today on the table, right? Oh, let me check out these baseball standings from last Thursday, right? While I wait for my meeting to start. Like, no, It's there's just nothing going on these shows. Now look, the Judgment Day stuff is hot. The fans love that shit. That shit is over and it's hot. And I guess we'll talk about that when we talk about Extreme Rules. So they really found something there. Other than that, there is nothing going on these shows. It is just the same shit every week. It's dull. It's uninteresting. I don't know. I'm glad that you finally sat down and tortured yourself for 3 hours and watched one of these. Because maybe you would have come on here and you would have said, Joe, this was so much better than I remembered. All these hot angles and great matches and tremendous No, you have the same thought I had. This is all the fucking same shit that we were seeing. If there's some random person who doesn't follow wrestling closely or on the internet, and they, were watching 6 months ago with Vince in charge, and then they tuned in this week, they wouldn't notice any striking difference between these shows. It's the same fucking show. And I'm tired of people lying about it and saying it's some new and improved fucking difference. It's not. Let's review this stupid pay-per-view so we can move on.
Yes, please. Let's do that.
Fucking Christ, I hate this fucking company. And we're wasting half the show on it.
I know, it's so long. And I watched Extreme Rules and I had the exact same thought. I was like, yeah, this kind of stinks. I don't really want to watch this anymore. One match that didn't stink, though. The good old-fashioned Donnybrook six-man tag, the Brawling Brutes, defeat Imperium. This is a good little match. I enjoyed this because guys went out, the bell rang, and they just kicked each other's ass for 18 minutes. And that's fun and that's good because I like wrestling. Wrestling is good, and I enjoy when good wrestlers wrestle, and that's what this match was. So I enjoyed a lot of this. I thought it was a solid back and forth, far and away the best match on this entire show. But yeah, it was good, and I was like, all right, maybe this is a fun show. I'm into this, but it peaked early.
A good thing Triple H has done has been adding Fabian Aichner back to Imperium, or Giovanni Vinci. Yeah. They haven't reverted a lot of the Vince names back, but because I kind of think that's a corporate trademark kind of deal that they're doing or whatever. But have you seen the Gunther Sheamus singles matches? Because I know you don't watch a lot of this stuff.
I watched one of them. I think one of them was it wasn't the SmackDown one from this past week.
Then Clash at the Castle, you saw.
Clash at the Castle I did see, and that rocked. Yeah. That was really, really good.
The SmackDown one rocked as well, as did this six-man. This is the best stuff going on in WWE right now, is the Brawling Brutes and Imperium stuff, without question. I mean, at least for fans that are into the kind of wrestling that we're into. This is the best stuff going on the show.
Especially, they were tagging in and out, going nuts, going crazy. They used some weapons, quote unquote, but really not much. It was like the shillelagh got used or whatever, and that's a good idea because the rest of this entire pay-per-view was like, let's hit each other with shit matches. But yeah, it was. I liked that it was just more hard hitting than anything else.
I did feel like this match was a little too long. I would have preferred this to be a little shorter and tighter. As it was moving along, I felt like, come on, let's get on with it. This needs to end. The singles matches are way better than it, but this was, I agree, the best match on this show. Well, I mean, it all depends what you think. Well, I guess I'll address it when we get there. But let's move on.
What was not the best match on this night was the SmackDown Women's Title Extreme Rules match. Liv Morgan, fresh off of 18 or 19 star-making performances, loses here to Ronda Rousey, loses the SmackDown Women's title, putting an end to this just amazing title run that we're always going to remember for the rest of time, or whatever.
So do you think we're done with this, or is it good they're going to continue the story of Liv learning how to be vicious and mean and submissions, and she's going to come back?
I saw some people theorize that she could be Bray Wyatt bound.
Really?
I've seen that. I don't know.
Isn't that the Alexa role?
That's the Alexa role. I know. Maybe they want a different take on the Alexa role. I don't know.
Look, I don't think there's any more juice to squeeze out of Liv Morgan. I think she was just a flop.
We don't even need a victory lap on that, by the way. But all you need to do is go back to the people that were excited about that and the people that were saying, no, you're wrong. This time it's going to work. Go back. Go look at them. They're the frauds. We don't even need to take the victory lap.
No one really defends it anymore either.
Yeah,
it's just
no. But again, all those people, they were that day. Oh no, this is the moment. This is the time. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like and Ronda's a giant flop on this run too.
Ronda,
let's not leave her out of this.
She can't wrestle anymore. She stinks.
has no star aura.
Means nothing. I can't believe that. Like, I forget that she's there sometimes, and it's like, this is Ronda Rousey, one of the most important women's athlete of like the modern era, and she just means nothing to this guy. She's just a regular part of the show that means nothing.
I love Ariel Helwani. You know, so confident. Like, did you hear on the Nason interview where he goes, Josh, pay-per-view for pay-per-view. I mean, who's really the hotter company, right? Who's the better company right now? And Nason, who, by the way, is very far from being an AEW fanboy. Let's make that clear.
Oh, no, yeah.
And he goes, I don't know. I prefer the AEW shows. It totally blew up Helwani's spot. Like, it reminded me of the Tony Khan interview. My favorite part of the Khan interview was when Helwani, all matter-of-factly, was setting up a question, and he says to Tony, now we all know that the Monday Night War was the greatest era in the history of wrestling.
So good.
We could all agree on that. And then Tony Khan goes, well, actually, Ariel, if you were to ask me, I'd probably say the 80s.
Like, right. I'd say 1986 Mid-South.
He's like, I wouldn't agree with that at all. And, and Helwani was like totally thrown off by that.
Yeah, like it's impossible that anybody could have possibly...
He's totally one of these guys who just grew up with that, loved it, and that's the pinnacle of wrestling. You know what I mean? But that was twice where his spot got blown up in a span of a week. And again, Josh Nason is very critical.
Yeah, Josh, and Josh is fair. Josh is absolutely fair. And full disclosure, I've been on Josh's show before, but, you know, it's not like I talk to the guy every single day or whatever.
Well, that's
but I've
not
been
a relationship. You were just a guest on a
I was just a guest on his show. But, like, but like you're saying, like... He's very critical of both, and the idea is just like, I don't know, and like he so matter-of-factly said it. He was like, I don't know, I kind of prefer AEW.
And it was totally in a way where Ariel was expecting him to say WWE. Like, it was, you know what I mean? It was not like he wasn't asking. Helwani was asking what he thought was a rhetorical question, and he got the total opposite answer. And I just thought it was funny because I'm thinking about that, like this Extreme Rules shows, like it stunk. Like, but there's people watching this and thinking like this is fucking great and this is a red hot company. So I don't know what was next on this awful show.
I'm on mute. So there we go. All right, time back. All right. So then Ronda Rousey, Liv Morgan. Yeah, if you didn't see this, like it was botched like crazy. It's clunky as fuck. Like. And, you know, it ends in a very weird way where they don't want to have Liv tap, so she passes out or whatever. And then
because she's learning how to be tough.
Yeah, and then she smiles, and Corey Graves goes, I think she's smiling. I think she's smiling about this. I did also find it hilarious, too, this match heavily featured people hitting each other with straps, leading into our strap match next. Karrion Kross versus Drew McIntyre. Paul, thank you so much for putting Karrion Kross on your shows so that I never have to watch him again. Joe, he still kind of stinks. So, all right.
I got to be honest, I don't remember a thing about this.
They hit each other with straps, and then Scarlett got in the ring and sprayed Drew with pepper spray, and then Karrion won. So,
you know, when...
Paul Levesque stuff here. New and improved.
When I watch Dynamite or Rampage... and they do like the Matt Hardy, Andrade, Private Party, like that whole story with the whole meta story with the contract tampering that they're doing with those guys. Do you know what I'm talking about on AEW?
Right.
My brain just completely turns off because I don't give a single fuck about any of those people or that story, and I don't retain anything that is being shown on the screen. That's the effect Karrion Kross has on me. When I don't even remember anything about this match. I just, my brain just turns off.
They hit each other with straps, pepper spray, the end.
Rich, Matt Hardy is wrestling Ethan Page on Rampage. Ugh. I was thinking about this. If you took the entire AEW roster and made every possible singles match you can possibly make, I really think Matt Hardy, Ethan Page might be like the very last match I'd want to see in that entire
yeah, I would say the only ones I would put close to it. Ooh, it's good.
Something with Matt Hardy. I mean,
yeah. Oh no, Matt Hardy's in there for sure.
Let's
I was
be
just
clear
thinking
about
like
that
Michael Nakazawa and Matt Hardy. That might be fun at least for a second. Yeah, no, it's Ethan Page versus Matt Hardy because
it might be right. Like,
it's gonna be like 11 minutes and not that interesting, and they're gonna do like side headlocks and stuff. Yeah, no. because I was thinking like Brandon Cutler, but again, Brandon Cutler would bring some comedic element to it. Yeah, it's probably.
I've seen Brandon Cutler have some super fun matches on the YouTube shows because he doesn't take it seriously. And it's,
right. They're fun. He's at least have a fun factor to him.
I don't want to see Matt. I haven't wanted to see Matt Hardy wrestle since like 2006.
That's exactly the year I was going to bring up. Damn it, you stole my spot. I was going to say since 2006, but no.
Ethan Page.
Apparently, we're being told it's Isaiah Cassidy versus Matt Hardy, and not. Ethan Page.
Yeah. You know what? It's Ethan Page versus Isaiah Cassidy. That's my mistake. But the contract of Matt Hardy is on the line or something like that. That's why I'm confused.
Yeah, but hopefully we never. Let's just be honest. Hopefully we never get a Matt Hardy versus Ethan Page match because
this contract stuff and these two. Oh my god, I just couldn't care less about anyway. Hopefully Triple H can sign all of those guys. Just get
yes.
the whole.
Oh yes, bring the Hardy Boys back.
The Hardy family office and Andrade and everyone except Jose the assistant. I like him.
I like Jose too. Yeah, Jose. Rules.
I like Jose the assistant.
Yeah, and Andrade, Malachi, get them all, man.
Get them all.
Sign them.
I tell you what though, that Roosh, he's putting in work.
Locker room leader Roosh.
I'm not gonna go that far, but I have to give him credit. Roosh has been a pleasant surprise because I've never been a Roosh guy. And he has been nothing but enjoyable in AEW. Anyway, Extreme Rules. Let's continue on.
Please, yeah, we got to get this done so we can stop talking about it. Then we had Bianca Belair versus Bayley, a Raw Women's Title ladder match. Bianca Belair defeating Bayley. They tried some stuff here, but I don't know. I thought the connective part, it just kind of was like a series of. I'm over ladder matches. I never want to see another ladder match ever in my life ever again. And they tried some stuff, but I don't know. It was just kind of like a series of things that would happen related to a ladder. I don't know. It's again, I'm emotionally disconnected from this company. I just can't do it. I'd love to maybe tell you I like this match. I thought it was perfectly fine, and I think Bianca winning was the right move, but it also makes you wonder what the fuck is going on with Damage Control if all they do is lose. But I don't know. Did you retain any thoughts from this ladder match?
I am a day one Bianca Belair fan. You know that. The listeners know that. I like It's Bayley. I've always been a fan of her work. This It's Bayley thing is just not working. I mean, there's just something missing. Some of it's the booking. But that Damage Control started off red hot. Even me at SummerSlam, I was like, all right, this is a good idea. This came out of nowhere. Look at
the talent. I mean, it's Bayley and Io Shirai and Dakota Kai. I mean, that's a good group. That's a really, really cool group.
It's the same shit every week. It never goes anywhere. And
they just lose. They just lose all the time.
Yeah, it just hasn't delivered. No. It's just not good. And Bayley, hasn't been Bayley. So no, this match was like it looked like it's one of those weird matches that because it was a ladder match and they did some spectacular bumps, like on the surface it was a good match, but if you watch this match closely, it wasn't a good match. So here's the other thing too. It's like, it's time to get rid of this pay-per-view. It's just too much. Match after match of this.
Yeah, of guys hitting each other with shit. And yeah, I agree. Especially when like you don't have that many ideas. You don't have that many things you can do. So like I said, the women's title Extreme Rules match, the main crux of that entire match was them hitting each other with a strap. And the next match is a strap match. So it's like, all right, well, I've seen that already. And then the ladder match comes and they're just trying to like hit each other with weapons and stuff. And you're like, well, I just saw like the extreme. It's just, yeah, it's way out of date. Nobody needs to see this stuff anymore. Just book good wrestling. Just book wrestling matches that matter and stories that matter. Nobody needs to see people hit each other with shit anymore. We've seen it. We've been desensitized to it so much. Just move on. Find something else.
Yeah, it's got to go. I mean, it's just, a lot of this stuff, I mean, and I know it's just, everybody knows this. This isn't any kind of hot taker. But I mean, a lot of this stuff would mean so much more if they just didn't do it so often. Because it's not even just this pay-per-view. Every pay-per-view has one or two of these kinds of matches, and then you do a whole pay-per-view full of them. I'm not trying to come off like, like one of these guys who just, but I don't know. It's just too much to do all of this in one night like this. And it really takes the edge off a lot of these matches. No pun intended for what we're talking about next.
Yeah. And then Finn Balor versus Edge, I Quit match. I predicted that it would go over 30 on our preview that we did last week. It went 29-39. They tried to get real quick. And I just said, for the life of God, I just hope for the love of God that it's not a ask the guys if they quit after every move match. And then I watched it, and 4 seconds in, Edge has, a basic leg hold on Finn Balor, and the referee goes, "What do you say? What do you say?" No! And it was just like, oh my God. It just immediately was like, fuck me, I gotta watch this shit for 30 minutes now. And it was just terrible. A move would happen. What do you say, Edge? Get out of my face! It's just like, oh my God. And then we all knew the melodrama would involve Beth, and then they get the concerto. Again, if this works for you and you like this, good for you. I'm glad, but not me.
See, I thought this was way too long. The whole walk and brawl portion of this match fucking sucked. Typical Edge, boring as shit. Walk and brawl nonsense.
Drawn out, boring. Yep.
Making dumb faces. But I thought the finish of this match was excellent and red hot. I mean, the crowd was on fire for it. And I thought that part of it was well done. If this were, the problem is this doesn't need to be a half hour long, because you could have cut the rest of that egregiously long, walk and brawl portion of the match out of this. They could have done 7 minutes of that and then just gone to the finish, and this could have been a neat and tidy 12-minute package. That's what hurt it. It almost felt like it was two different things. It almost felt like the finish of the match was the post-match, but the finish of the match was the finish, because
right. No, I agree. It felt like two different parts for sure.
Yeah, and there's no doubt that the Judgment Day stuff is super over. I mean, you can't deny that. And I thought the finish of this was really good and hot. And, this is why I say I'm not sure if you'd call the opener. Sounds like you didn't like this very much. But
no, I the opener for sure.
I'm not sure if I would call the opener of this the best match, because I thought this peaked way higher with the finish, but 75% of this fucking sucked.
Yeah, I can't call it a good match when I had to sit there and watch 25 minutes of Finn Balor having an arm ring on Edge and go, "What do you say, Edge? What do you say?" No! It's just like, God, go away. But I agree, the last 5 to 6 minutes, I mean, the Judgment Day stuff is super over. Dominic.
Once Beth got involved.
What was that?
Really good.
Yeah, the Beth stuff was good. Dominic beating up Ray is actually kind of interesting. I know you don't care about Dominic, you never will, but it's the closest he's gotten to actually doing something with a pulse or whatever. But yeah, it's just, I can't say it was a good match when 25 minutes of it sucked.
Yeah. So that was the issue here, but it was a red hot. I keep wanting to say angle, but it I was the finish of the match.
Yeah, right. And then finally, mercifully, the fight pit match here. I was howling with laughter when they bring out special referee Daniel Cormier, and I'm thinking, okay, I know who Daniel Cormier is. You know who Daniel Cormier is. If you had no idea who this guy was, you had no even if you tangentially are aware of UFC but didn't know this guy, he comes out and he looks like, I saw some people equating him to Carl Winslow from Family Guy. Yeah. To me, he looked like Mark Curry from Hanging with Mr. Cooper. You know what I mean? Just with a few extra pounds in. It's just like a guy that looks like someone's uncle comes out. And you're like, all right, cool. Who's this guy? That's good. Sounds good.
The thing about Cormier is he was never a physical specimen.
Right. Well, whoever told him he had to tuck the referee shirt into his pants, bad move.
Yeah.
Bad move, because then he just came out and looked like a guy. So you took Daniel Cormier was what he was because he could kick ass. He would win matches. He would
arguably the best heavyweight in the world for a period of time.
But if he comes in and he walks in with his little belly hanging out in his tucked in referee shirt, and you don't know who he is, you're like, who the fuck's this guy? Like this is the guy, and it was just so funny because they're like, oh, one of the legends of UFC, and I'm thinking somebody at home is watching this guy going that guy, okay. It's a legend of UFC is this fat guy that's just all right, here we go. And then just throughout the match, it was just kind of a guy, you know what I mean? He was just 1, 2. He didn't do anything. It was just kind of there for the ride. So it's all right, cool. Well, great. Glad he's in this. And then they went and had not that good of a fight pit match, which was really disappointing because I thought these guys would go out there and just absolutely kill it.
Well, because Seth Rollins is a fucking goober who doesn't know how to work to the step. Like, go back and watch the Thatcher Riddle fight pit. Who was the other one? Thatcher and Tommaso Ciampa?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me confirm that. I think you're right, though.
Yeah. That's how you work to this stipulation. Seth Rollins worked this like it was just some fucking cage match.
Yeah, well, no, even worse than that, he would do a move and then like go and be like, yeah, that's right, and then go,
yeah,
and it's like, all right, this is a fight, man, let's go. Like,
if you're gonna do the fight pit match, do a fucking fight pit match.
He's doing like a Monday Night Raw, do a move, look at the crowd, and go, that's right. It's just that same. He didn't work it any different than he worked a normal match. It just so happened to be.
So it ended up being a nothing match,
right.
And it wasn't any good. It was just and it had the dynamic finish with the fucking senton off of the fucking platform.
Which looked like it hurt like fucking hell, man. Good God.
Yeah, I mean, so that was, and then Rollins sold it on Raw with the taped up ribs and everything. But yeah, the match sucked. It wasn't any good. This show sucked. This show wasn't any good.
Yeah, and the show wrapped up and I was like, well, that was that. So, all right.
But I guess to play devil's advocate, if you're really into Bray and you're really into the Judgment Day finish, and I still don't think it's a good show because the rest of it
wasn't that good. I mean, so the opener was good. Rousey and Liv Morgan sucked. Cross and Drew McIntyre was just there. Bianca and Bayley, I guess if your mileage varies on that, I could definitely see how you might, whatever.
I'm sure there's people who liked it.
Yeah, I'm sure there's people that loved it. Balor and Edge, again, I'm sure it depends where you are on that stuff, but I think there's probably
Let's give them that one. Let's say that people fucking love that.
Let's say that. I don't know how you could say that you liked Riddle Rollins. Like, I honestly do not believe that anybody could truly say with a straight face that they thought that was a spectacular match or a good match.
No, and this was a feud built up with super vitriol and hate, and they didn't work it that way.
Right. So you had, at best, we're going to give them, 3 good matches on this show for my 4 hours of time, and then a Bray angle.
And the Bray fucking sniffing my own socks bullshit. Yeah, that's the show.
All right, well,
I mean, maybe this shit's just not for us. Well, not maybe. It's not for us.
It's just not for us, yeah.
I mean, because I don't get it, Rich. I'm Tom Hanks and Big with the fucking robot that turns into a building.
Right.
The fucking robot that turns into a skyscraper. I don't get it. Okay? I don't know.
There you go. Well, that's World Wrestling Entertainment. It's Extreme Rules. So, yeah, great. Well, hopefully we don't have to talk about that.
And how fucking dare you? Daniel Cormier is a Strikeforce legend.
They said, hey, Corey Graves said UFC.
Well, I know. Well, yeah, he's not going to say Strikeforce.
He should. Strikeforce rocked, yeah. That was the only, it's the only MMA promotion, other than like Pride or whatever, because Pride was hilarious and fun or whatever. But like, I got into Strikeforce for some reason for like 2 months, and I don't know why.
I loved Strikeforce.
Something about Strikeforce just because what was it? I remember you and me discussing it. This is before the show, because this was even before we were doing the show, or maybe it was while we were. For some reason, I just got like into Strikeforce for like 3 months, and then just completely went away.
Dude, I went to Strikeforce shows. Like I loved Strikeforce.
I don't remember why though. It was it just a little bit more.
Just the presentation, I guess. I don't know. It was on Showtime, and it was like. I don't have an answer for it.
I think it was a little more gritty. I think because I was like I used to really like I loved like 1993 UFC, like those early days. I would always rent the videos from like my video store, and it was always like, hey, here's a fat guy, but he's good at judo against a karate guy. And I'm like, sweet, all right. And it's like these unregulated weird fights with these, and then like I like that, but then once it got technical, I was like, I don't really care about this. This isn't that fun.
I think Strikeforce was like they were booking people like Kung Lee. And
they still had freak shows. It was kind of still a freak show, right?
Sort of, like not full on freak show.
It wasn't, it wasn't like 1994 UFC, but it was freak show ish.
But they book interesting people, and it was kind of like Cormier was kind of like their great hope of, okay, we've got the best heavyweight in the world. Like if he were only in UFC, he could prove it. And he went to UFC and had a very he had an excellent career. He couldn't beat John Jones, but he had a great career in UFC. But the Strikeforce had like Josh Barnett and Cormier and Kung Lee and Gina Carano and all these people. Did they have Carano, or was she Elite XC?
You're asking the wrong guy. Yeah.
Rondo
came up through Strikeforce, right?
Yeah.
That may have been when I started watching, to be honest. Yeah.
When I lost interest in MMA is when UFC monopolized everything. I thought MMA was more interesting when there were multiple promotions, having big time fights. Yeah, Carano was mostly Elite XC, but she did have a couple of Strikeforce fights in the mix.
I also think Scott Coker was just a way cooler dude than Dana White. Like, Scott Coker was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Coker, because he would be more willing to make, like you're saying, not 100% freak show shit like you saw in Japan, but stuff that was interesting that UFC would never book.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, that was fucking Extreme Rules. I don't know anymore. Let me see what the fucking cage match.
Oh, don't even look at that anymore.
No, you know what? That's settling. That's not for a while there. Okay, so what was happening was I think Tony Khan had mentioned AEW's cage match ratings, and the hardcore WWE fans took notice of that. And for a while there, they were really, I don't want to say astroturfing, because I really don't think it was astroturfing. I don't think it was dishonest. I just think
it was more mobilizing
yes.
Their positivity.
Exactly. They were coming in and I think Brandon Thurston putting out some cage match tweets riled up the WWE fans a little too, because like Roman Reigns wasn't popping up on lists of guys with with the most 4-star matches and things like that. So for a couple of weeks there, the WWE fans mobilized, like you're saying, and were just totally overrating, like given Monday night. There were Monday Night Raws with scores that were matching like the best Wrestle Kingdoms. It was just getting completely out of hand. But it has settled. Extreme Rules is sitting at 7.59. This past Monday's Raw is sitting at 7.62. We're not seeing these shows over 9 anymore, which is where they were sitting, which is crazy, because you're telling me that some random Monday Night Raw is just as
one
good
of the greatest wrestling shows of all time. Yeah.
Right. Which is total bullshit. None of these Raws have been that good, but it seems as though either these people have lost interest in inflating these ratings, or what I noticed what Cage Match was doing this past week, they weren't putting the shows up in real time. They were putting the shows up on like a 12-hour delay.
To let it cool down a little bit. Because I did notice I looked, if you go and look at like Extreme Rules and you look at the cage match ratings, like the first 25 ratings are all like 9s and 10s or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of eases up a little bit, and then it's like normal ratings. So the rest of the time, even up until a couple hours ago, people are still giving like normal-ish rate. But right when it loads up, there was like 25 reviews, and they were 90% of them were 10 out of 10s with no comments.
Yeah, so
or generic like great show, you know what I mean? And that was it. So
I think Cage Match realized that it was, as soon as Raw would end, they'd all jump in and rate it. So by putting the little delay on there, people just forget about it. They move on with whatever they're doing the next day, and maybe they're not as apt in the as they would be in the moment to come rate something. And I don't think it was necessarily dishonest reviews. It was just people who really love WWE.
Right, wanting more representation for the thing that they love.
Yeah, and were they bumping up their rating a point or two? Probably. But when you look at the history of these people's votes, it wasn't anything that was super unusual. It wasn't like these were all new accounts that were just giving out 10s blindly. So the only thing I could say is, look, I think things like Cage Match and Grapple and Dave's ratings are important for historical purposes. I think it's important that 50 years from now, somebody can, look on Cage Match or grab an old Observer and say, oh, okay, this Nathan Fraser Axiom match from NXT was pretty good. Maybe it's worth checking out. I think these things matter and they're important for historical records and all those things. And maybe I'm the dork for believing that. So I've been more active. All I can tell people is, be more active on Cage Match and Grapple and give things honest ratings. Don't go in there and give everything a 0 to counteract the goofballs giving random Monday Night Raws 10s. No, just go in there and give thing honest ratings and contribute.
Yeah, contribute. That's the best way to do it. Yeah, Grapple, Cage Match, all those things. I'm with you. I think they're of tremendous historical purpose. And I use them frequently in our Patreon series. Like I'll go back and say, okay, this Halloween Havoc got this rating, this match got this rating on Cage Match. I think it's important to have that. It's important to look back on that. It's important to do those. And we've done on this website, we've done studies, and like you said, Brandon Thurston, WrestleNomics, does studies and catalogs that stuff. So yeah, don't just decide, oh well, now they've taken it over, so I'm gonna let it go, or fuck this, that site's stupid now, or worse yet, like you said, give all zeros to try to counteract that. No, just do your thing. They'll get bored of it eventually.
Go and give honest ratings, and these people will get bored, and even if they don't, at least if everyone's contributing their opinions, we get closer to what's a fair consensus on these shows and these matches. I've been more active on Cage Match, in particular with the WWE stuff, just because I'm the dummy who feels like this stuff is important and it matters to me. So, that's all I could say. But I can say that it peaked like 2 weeks ago with the ridiculous ratings. And if you look now, they really have been coming back down to earth, and it takes a day or two sometimes. But we're not seeing these egregiously high. We're not like there's no Raws now that are sitting over 9 anymore, because I think other people like-minded with us are thinking, oh, come on, we have to help balance this out. This perfectly mediocre Raw, I'm going to go in there and give it the 5 it deserves. And, hopefully it'll help balance things a little bit. So, yeah. And look, WWE is hardly the only company that's experienced this sort of thing on Cage Match and other places. Okay?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Joshi fans can be the same way.
Chikara fans. If you go back into the history of Cage Match, there's a lot of Chikara matches that I'm like, was that really a 9 out of it? Was that really like a match that should be at a 9.17, one of the greatest matches of all time? And like, I've gone back and watched some of them and been like, no, that because I'll do these series and there's something potentially coming out for Patreon where, I'm going to look at, best Cage matches of all time. And like, I've looked at a few of them and I've watched some of them and I take notes. And a few of them are like, there was one like Chikara match that I was like, whoa, okay, I don't really remember this match being that good. And then I watched it and I was like, no, this match is not that good. Like, why is this thing so high? And yeah, it like you said, Joshi does the same thing. Hell, AEW fans have done the same thing too. I mean, go look at ratings.
Rabid fans of any style or promotion, we'll get into that, and that's why, I think Cage Match does something that's good. They'll give you the average rating that whatever it is your rating gets each year. So like what you're talking about, all right, some match in 2006, or I guess they didn't exist in 2006, but you get the idea. Some match in 2011, let's say, that in real time, had an average score of 8, and then maybe it doesn't hold up, and people who watch it in 2020, you can see the average rating that people are giving it in 2020 versus the average rating people gave it in 2011. And that has value too, in terms of what holds up and what doesn't, what stands the test of time and what doesn't. So anyway, I don't want to get on a whole Cage Match thing, but I do think that has kind of been leveling off for these recent WWE shows. The NXT the other night is sitting at a 6.44. So we're seeing the fair ratings return for that company.
All right, let's get to some other topics here. Before we do that, though, I do want to let you know about our Patreon. So we have no other ads this week, so we are going to let you know about Flagship, patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling, voicesofwrestling.com/Patreon, however you want to do that. Joe, because of your throat issues, your vocal cord issues, you've been doing written Dynamite reviews, getting some rave reviews for those as well. So Thursday tier reviews, the audio, the Thursday Dynamite reviews are coming back this week. As you said, it'll be kind of business as usual moving forward. But the written reviews, really, really good stuff there. Those are available right now at flagshippatreon.com. Like you said, I have
those written reviews, by the way, even though they're written content, I did put those on the $5 tier because the Thursday Dynamite review is normally $5 content.
Right.
So I didn't feel it would be fair for people who are on the $5 tier because they like the Dynamite review to have to pay $5 extra just because they're written. So that is written content. The last 2 weeks of Dynamite reviews, that is on the $5 tier. So you don't have to have. But the rest of the written content that Rich and I do, that you can find on the $10 tier.
Yep. And speaking of written content, you've been doing review roulettes every week where you take a few shows, throw them in, they go, okay, I'm going to do MLW, I'm going to do Raw, I'm going to do Smackdown, NXT, yada, yada, all that sort of stuff. And this past week, you did Raw, which maybe for the last time, and NXT, the new NXT, not 2.0, yellow and gold back here, but or black and yellow, golden, whatever the hell colors they're using these days. But that is available there as well. Written reviews, again, like you said, those are on the $10 tier. Like you said, most of the other written content, I do some content here and there written-wise as well. Have not done anything in the last week or so because I've been busy with Halloween Havoc happenings. It's my recap of past Halloween Havoc main events. We started in 1989 and we were going to go all the way into the year 2000. So I got notes for a lot of those, write-ups about a lot of those already, but we are moving forward. I just released 1990. That is Sting versus Sid. 1991, we're going to get Lex Luger and Ron Simmons in a 2 out of 3 falls match. 92 and 93, we're going to have a little bit of fun because I've already done the spin the wheel, make the deal matches before. So we're going to throw those into a randomizer and find some random match from those two shows. And then things are going to get real wild. 94, you got Flair versus Hogan, title versus career. Then in 1995, you got the monster truck death match. Things get wild here in a bit. But it's been a lot of fun. Basically, we don't just recap the main event. We also talk about the history of the wrestlers involved, what's going on at WCW at the time. And WCW always has some good dirt going on at pretty much all times throughout their history. So it's been a lot of fun to do. Also, my ongoing Goldberg series. You'll get a new episode this month as well. Goldberg 173 and 1. Based on that series, we're going month by month with every single match and moment of Goldberg's 1998. So we'll talk about the October of 1998 for Goldberg, which is better than September, but has its issues as well, as he is going to go to Halloween Havoc and face DDP and all the stuff that's going to happen with that. If you know the story, you know it. If you don't, well, you're going to enjoy it on Goldberg 173 and 1. But that is available there. Match of the week as well. Your weekly match of the week that you do this week was Ted DiBiase and Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan and Bam Bam Bigelow. And if you don't know about Match of the Week, it's not just you giving a link to a match, which you do, but it's also you doing a write-up about why this match is important, what significance it has, different stuff like that, the background of the wrestlers involved, the background of the match itself. So it's really, really fun, and that's probably one of my favorite things that we do there. It's just a great history lesson for people that are subscribers. So you got that, and everything else we do, all of our archives available at flagshippatreon.com. Start as low as $1 for the trial tier. $5 gets you all of our audio, and then $10 gives you these live flagships, so you can listen live to this. Join the No Dopes chat room. It also gets you all of our written content, and everything we've ever done is available there at the $10 tier. But the biggest news, I would say, more than anything, though, and I talked about it a little bit last week, but Joe, you have not had the opportunity to talk about it. Anniversary billing. We have been dying and hoping and praying that this would come at some point, and it finally did. And what that means is that you don't have to worry. We are not going to have to do this segment where we say, dopes, don't subscribe now, subscribe next week, because it's the end of the month and you're going to pay $10 now, and then in 2 days you're going to have to pay $10 again. You're never going to have to do that again. Whenever you subscribe to flagshippatreon.com, that is when you get billed. So if you subscribe on the 13th, if you subscribe today and go, hey, this is pretty interesting, I want to be a part of this Flagship Patreon, good idea, smart. Then you get charged on the 13th every single month. So November 13th, that's when you get charged. December 13th, that's when you're going to get charged. Before, Patreon would charge you on the 1st. That was bad. That was stupid. It would cause weird issues where people would subscribe on the 29th and then get charged $10 on the 29th and then $10 on the 1st again. You never have to worry about that ever again. When you subscribe is when you get billed, and that is how they're going moving forward. And we immediately, when that was available to us, turned that on because you guys have been asking for it, and we have been asking for it as well. So we were more than happy to turn on anniversary billing, but it just makes everyone's lives just so much easier. We don't have to do the segments about don't subscribe. You can subscribe with confidence whenever you want because you're not going to be missing out on anything. You're going to get the full month for your $10 or your $5 no matter what, which is just great. And we're so glad that it's available now.
Yeah, so if you see a piece of content behind the paywall that you're interested in, you don't have to look at the calendar and go, it's 23rd, I'm going to wait. And no, just do it. And then you're not going to get charged.
We would tell you to wait. That's the worst part is we had to do those segments where we would say, if you want to give us money, just wait 5 days. We don't have to do that anymore. If you like something, just subscribe. There's no pressure anymore. Yeah,
pop in and out, and you don't have to worry about getting overcharged. You're only going to get charged once every, 30 or 31 days or whatever it is, depending on the month. So definitely something that we've been waiting for, and we think it's better for everybody. So.
There you go. All right. So that is flagshippatreon.com, patreon.com/voicesofwrestling, voicesofwrestling.com/Patreon. All right. Let's get into New Japan Pro Wrestling. So quickly, we'll talk about the Declaration of Power show. I watched all of it. I believe you watched all of it as well. What'd you think? I thought it was a pretty good New Japan show, top to bottom.
Yeah. It was all right. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't love the main event. So
It was long. It was long.
Yeah, I mean, the main event did nothing for me. The Shingo Phantasmo post-match was a fucking... That's not what I want out of my New Japan.
No, that was a lot, yeah.
Phantasmo's an entertaining guy. Okay, he really is. And I think he's going to be a pretty significant star in this company as a heavyweight. I do. If WWE or AEW doesn't pluck him away, because I tell you, I would sign that guy.
Oh, for sure.
But I can do without that on my New Japan. If I want to watch that shit, I'll watch Raw and watch The Miz. I really have no use for it. It was an eventful show. A lot of stuff happened.
A lot of stuff did happen. It felt kind of like the reason I liked it, it felt like a bit of a reset show of like, all right. Now this is the fall. This is now going into, and really kind of setting the stage for Wrestle Kingdom, getting that stuff ready, and getting everybody aligned and ready to go for, World Tag League and the Junior Tag League, but then also, getting stuff ready for Wrestle Kingdom. So that's, I think, why I liked it the most is maybe the work itself, maybe the bell-to-bell wasn't like great, but I thought it was eventful enough. And it felt like, all right, now there's like a clear direction that they have for the next couple of months, and this is the beginning of that direction. So I enjoyed that.
Yeah, no, it was eventful, and there were a lot of angles and things like that. Some landed, some didn't. Anyway, why don't we just go through the show?
We'll start with the main event, which I'm with you. I did not love it. It's the thing with Jay White where, like, I really like Jay White. I think he's talented as fuck, but, like, sometimes he just goes out there and, like, some of the edge. It's like, all right, dude, you don't always have to go 32 minutes and do these same style of matches and the same things. Like, the best Jay White matches to me are the ones where it's just like bang, bang, bang. You know what I mean? There's a lot of action. It's quick, and you don't know when it's going to end because he could hit that. He could hit the move out of nowhere. He could beat you in out of nowhere. All that sort of stuff. And they try to promote that in the announcing, and I appreciate that. Kevin Kelly saying, the best part about a Jay White match is you never know when it's going to end, and it's like, I do. It was 10 minutes in, and I knew it wasn't going to end for another 20 minutes. Like, I knew it was going to go 30 minutes, and it did. So it's like, no, I agree that one of the coolest parts about Jay White is how quickly his matches can end and how he can hit a move out of nowhere, but he tends to not do that as much, especially in these main events, world title matches, all that sort of stuff. So I don't know. It just never ended. And I like Tama Tonga. I think the build has been pretty good for this, but clap crowd, 31-minute main event, it's going to be hard to get really excited.
Yeah. The match did nothing for me. Tama Tonga had less than 0% chance of winning, which didn't help.
Yeah, there was a one near fall, I want to say, like way towards the end of the match where I was like, well, you know what I mean? Like that little bit of like, and then I was like, wait a minute. No, of course Tama Tonga's not winning this match. So I think that definitely hurt it. I think the crowd knew goddamn well that Tama Tonga wasn't winning this match.
Yeah.
The semi-main, though, I hope you had to have liked the semi-main event. If you didn't like this, I got to get your head checked. Okada versus Jonah, 20 minutes, worked just, to me, great big man versus little guy match. Recreated a lot of the Inoki Vader stuff from years past. A lot of like Inoki spots, when he would face, giants and big guys or whatever. I thought this was great. I thought it was one of Jonah's best matches ever. And I think Okada is he's fucking Okada. He's just tremendous. So you have to have liked this match. If you didn't like this, I don't know what to tell you.
This was a hat tip to Inoki. They did the Inoki stuff at the beginning of the show and the tribute and all that. And Okada did the Inoki pose after he won the match. And there's Josh Fields. Nope. Bears, Rich. Are you into these Bears right now?
I'm not into the Bears. Josh Fields is a former MLB player for the Chicago White Sox. You're talking about Justin Fields, I believe.
Justin Fields, yeah.
No, I'm not into the Bears. Why would I be in the Bears?
It's 12-7, just like we all
awesome.
figured.
Yeah, sounds
with
great.
40 seconds left. Bears are inside the 5, down 12-7, obviously. And Fields is running for his life on every snap, which has been every Bears game since the beginning of the season.
No, I don't watch the Bears anymore. I don't.
Well, I'll keep you updated because I know you're a big Bears.
No, you're good.
No, don't worry. I'll let you know what happens.
Okay, thanks.
So, Okada, he did the Inoki pose at the end of the match, and it was really, like you said, it was.
They did the octopus and stuff. They did the German suplex spot. They did a lot of callback spots.
Even more so than the tribute spots, it was just it was very reminiscent of an Inoki match where it was the babyface ace of the promotion having to overcome this monster, and how's he going to do it? And Inoki always would, and Okada did here. So it was very much to me a hat tip of a classic Antonio Inoki match against some big foreign invader. That's what it felt like to me, and it was the best match on the show, and We'll see what happens with Jonah. We'll see if they lose him to Triple H. It seems like they want TMDK to be a thing. The whole gang's there. I'm sure Mad Mikey Nichols isn't far behind. So, we'll see. I hope Jonah sticks around, though. I think he's been a great fit. I think he fills a hole for them that Bad Luck Fale has been ceasing to fill for a long time because he's just, overweight and lazy. So I don't know. We'll see what happens here. I don't know his contract status, whether he'll stick around, whether he won't. But he's had a very good run here. If this is it, and he does go back to America, he had a nice run.
He did.
Between the G1 and all this, and sometimes that's okay just to come in for a few months and have a run and then move on to the next thing.
In almost any other era of wrestling history, we'd look back and be like, fun little run here. He was here for, 8 months or whatever, had some good stuff, and got to the point where he faced the big dude, the top of the guy in the company, and the top guy in the company beat him, and they bowed, and then he went away, and it's like, all right, that's fine. Yeah, and people freak out now about, this guy's leaving, or that guy's, but this stuff was fine. Like in the old days, all right, we need you for this amount of months, and then you're going to lose to Okada at the end. Okay, cool. Well, go to the pay window, and who cares? But yeah, if it is the end, it was a fun little run. But I do hope he kind of hangs around a little bit because I think there is some real potential. I think for him to be a player. Shingo Takagi, El Phantasmo, the Who's Your Daddy match. I was worried that the whole match was going to be really weird and stuff. And it was basically just a normal wrestling match between these two. Phantasmo kind of trolling a little bit throughout the match or whatever.
I thought it was going to be like an I Quit match.
That's exactly what I was worried about. I thought, and I mentioned it on the preview last week, is I was like, oh my God, they're going to have the referee stick a microphone in El Phantasmo and say, is he your daddy? And Phantasmo go, no! And I was like, no, God. I don't want to do that again, especially if I have to watch another I Quit match. But thankfully, it was just a wrestling match. Shingo beat Phantasmo, and then Phantasmo had to say, who's your daddy? But like you said, excruciatingly long post-match where it's like, he was like, you're my daddy. And then they're like, no, say it louder. And then he had to say, who's my daddy? And then he had to do it in Japanese. And then they gave him a pacifier. And I was like, all right.
The post-match stuff was just went on forever.
It never ended.
Intolerably long. It was just not.
The poor announcers had to do the fake laugh, WWE fake laugh thing, where he puts on the pacifier and they have to go.
Yeah, just terrible.
And nobody's actually laughing. It's not actually funny, but
yeah. Bears lost, by the way.
Oh darn! Well.
He bobbled it. Mooney bobbled it at the goal line on 4th down, but by the time he had control of the ball, he was no longer in the end zone. And it appears as though the referees have made it.
What a Bears way to lose. Perfect. That's awesome.
Yeah, Fields made the throw, and he bobbled right at the goal line. If he would have held on, it'd be a touchdown. He was bobbling the ball. The defender pushed him out of the end zone. By the time he had control of the ball, he was on the half-yard line. Yeah. So. But Washington has to do a real play here because they're on the half-yard line. Sneak, is that a safety? No, I think he got out of the end zone, and that'll do it.
Thank you for the play-by-play of the game.
Did he get out? Did Wentz get out of the end zone? He did, and that's going to be it. The Bears have timeouts.
Man!
So the Bears dropped to 2-4. The Commanders improved to 2-4. And
what a barn burner on Thursday night. Poor Al.
And the Commanders win at 12-7. We all knew it was going to be ugly.
Is Al surviving this year, or is he going to drink himself to death?
Al Michaels is going to have a stiff drink after this one because I watched this whole game as we were doing the show. It was not well played, as you would surmise. This wasn't exactly, this wasn't.
The Carson Wentz Justin Fields matchup that we were all waiting for didn't deliver.
Yeah, this wasn't the Steel Curtain versus the Purple People Eaters 12-7. This was
right. It's not 85 Bears, Mike Singletary wasn't holding the
right. This wasn't the 85 Bears versus the Lawrence Taylor Giants where it was phenomenal defense. This was
bad offense.
Yeah, but
the guy who can't throw versus the guy who just doesn't really try to throw. Yeah,
a tough one for the Bears. Fields is very disappointed. They deserve to lose with these ugly orange jerseys and helmets, though. I can tell you that.
Well, and Seth freaking Rollins is there too, so they definitely deserve to lose.
He's a fan. Oh yeah, he's from that area.
It was him and Becky were there. I can't believe he subjected Becky to Thursday night Bears football. But
yeah, just a terrible game.
They're in the city of Chicago, and he makes her go to Soldier Field to watch the fucking Bears and the Commanders. Man, all right, well, There you go.
Anyway.
All right, so let's get through this declaration of power real quick because we're running low on time here with the show. Master Wato versus Taiji Ishimori. I have very few thoughts about this. Fine.
Well, they
Wato's
told
getting better. I think he's getting better, but, you know.
They told a little story here. It wasn't a title match. And Wato had to kind of prove himself against the champion. So he's going to get a title match.
Yes, yeah. Which is a good story. I like that. And I like the idea that he just doesn't immediately get that title match because Kushida can't do it. Which, by the way, poor Kushida, man. Jesus Christ. This guy, he's not even they don't even have him planned for Wrestle Kingdom anymore.
Yeah, with that hoof and mouth disease.
Yeah, good Lord. God.
Well, then all the other juniors came out. So I don't know what's happening. Like, maybe Wato's not getting he's going to be
I think he is getting one, but... Well, you're right, because they already announced what the match is going to be. So, maybe he isn't getting one.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, I believe it's official. As far as I know on New Japan's website, Taiji Ishimori, Hiromu, Desperado, and Wato are the... Well, okay, he's one of 4 guys getting a title shot, but...
So they're doing the 4-way at Wrestle Kingdom.
Yes.
See, I don't like that.
Well, yeah, you don't like it 3 months ahead of time with the ample opportunities to have title matches?
Yeah, I don't understand why, number one...
Why are we rushing? What's the rush? You got all time. You're good.
Why would you lock this in already?
Yeah, I don't know.
Number 2, why are we doing a 4-way? You know I hate that. Just do Taiji Ishimori versus Master Wato on fucking Destruction and Bipu or whatever. Or on the next tour. Whatever the fuck. Beat that scrub and finish up that story, right? And then just come up with a contender between now and Wrestle Kingdom and do a one-on-one match. You know, I don't like the 4-way.
Yeah, I mean, you have at least 3 or 4 opportunities to have a title match on those shows.
Yeah.
That leads to an idea, okay, clear, this guy has defeated all these guys, now he has to face this guy. It's the last person in the line or whatever. Or somebody just emerges. I don't know. It's very strange that they locked that in already. I understand why you lock in the World Heavyweight title match with Jay White and Okada. That makes all the sense in the world, but there's no reason to lock in the Junior Heavyweight title in early October. Like, what are you doing? You got a lot of time to go, guys. But
yeah, not a fan of any of this.
That's very strange. Then on the show, we had, real quickly, I'm going to go over the rest of these real fast. LIJ defeating the United Empire. Obviously building up to the Naito, Will Ospreay, that we're going to talk about here in a moment at Battle Autumn. Any thoughts on that? Anything that stood out to you in that match?
Yeah, the Teton angle, which I think is still happening.
Yeah, Teton.
Can he get to it already? I mean,
take it off. Take the match.
Jeez, the guy's prancing around the ring. Then he's prancing around the ring apron. Then he's milking this.
I did enjoy the wrestling trope of a mask covering up your mask. It's like he took off his mask and it's another mask.
And it's like, buddy, you're Teton. 20% of the people in that building are going to recognize you or recognize your mask when you take off that top mask. And he played this up this was just excruciatingly long. Like, I understand. And then they had to do like the votes to, then he invites himself into the group. So then they have to decide whether they want to let him in the group. And then they do. And then they do the fucking fisting. This just took way too long. I mean, this could have been trimmed by 2/3 the time it took for Teton to take off that dopey mask. But we've got ourselves a new member of LIJ.
Yes, we do, Teton.
We've been asking for a Teton push.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for like 7 years we've been saying push this guy. He comes in for Fantastica Manias and always does well. So
Super Juniors.
Yeah, I do think this also means the relationship with CMLL is probably at least either back on or healthy, which is good because it felt like untenable at a certain point. And let's be honest, as much as like people meme like AAA, it'd be a fucking disaster if it's AAA and it's much better to be CMLL than because they have actual good wrestlers and not just memes. So
AAA has some good wrestlers, but it's booked like Game Changer Wrestling.
Yeah, it's a meme promotion. Yeah, they have great wrestlers and a meme promotion, so it sucks. Yeah. United Empire, we'll talk about them later. Get excited, get into it. United Empire, Okan and Jeff Cobb versus Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi. I liked it. It was 10 minutes, guys just beating the hell out of each other. This rocks.
Yeah, it's good.
I love Okan and Cobb. That's a great team with Gideon on the side, the investor. Oh, it's good stuff. Yeah, the United Empire, the whole vibe of them is awesome right now.
Yeah, it was a good mid-card match, yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. Between two regular tag teams just mixing it up.
Yeah, exactly. Just a tag team match, and in 10 minutes, Great Okan and Jeff Cobb just beat them, and that's fine. That's okay.
Yeah.
And then quickly, the other ones, Hikuleo, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Taguchi defeated the House of Torture, Evil Show, and Yujiro. I have zero thoughts. I cannot imagine.
Again, that sets up a title match because they beat the champs.
Right,
so.
right.
And I'm sure that's happening. I haven't looked at the cards on the tour. Bad job.
Probably one of the Battle Autumns. Yeah, I haven't looked at all of them either. I just have the
probably
Osaka
happening on
there.
one of those shows.
Dangerous Tekkers, Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr. defeated Bad Dude Tito and Shane Haste. And then David Finlay, Ren Narita, Robbie Eagles defeat Dookie, El Desperado, Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Joe, I am buying Ren Narita stock. The son of strong style. He's got facial hair. He's got muscle definition. I'm into Ren Narita. I did not think Ren was gonna, and I'm not saying this guy's gonna main event a Wrestle Kingdom, but I think they might have something with this guy.
Yeah, he's got potential, and they're trying to recreate the Shibata energy, and they're not even being subtle about it, and that's fine. And we'll see what happens. But very talented guy, and really rough excursion in the middle of fucking pandemic. I mean, just, everyone who was on excursion during this pandemic, really got fucked in a lot of ways. And he was one of them. But, he's back. He's one of the first guys to come back. And, they're doing kind of a mini Shibata thing, which makes, some of the other matches they've done, make a lot of sense. And, yeah, he looks good.
And that was New Japan Declaration of Power.
David Finlay, right back to curtain jerking.
Yeah,
right?
kind of. I did have a note about that. It was kind of funny that it's like after that big moment where everyone's like, "All right, this is the time," and he's just like, "All right, here's David Finlay," and he doesn't even make the fall. It's just he maybe should call Unky Paul and see if there's such opportunity for him out there. Rock Hard Juice is whatever the next step is for Juice, but yeah, Finlay is that's not going anywhere with David Finlay, I don't think. Which there's potential there. Things like well, whatever.
He's a guy.
He's just a guy. He's just a guy.
Sure.
They did announce a brand new title at Declaration of Power, the New Japan World Television Championship. This is the quote from New Japan's website. It says the New Japan World Television Championship will represent a bright future in New Japan. Every title match will be contested with a 15-minute time limit, encouraging a rapid style in the ring. Obari suggested that he would also like to see younger wrestlers on the roster compete for the title, with the first contenders for the new title dueling it out in a tournament to start at Battle Autumn. And now Jay Michael, who does great reviews for us at voicesofwrestling.com related to New Japan.
Sickeningly great writer.
Great, yeah, annoyingly great. It's like, shut up. Yeah, okay, you're good at writing, and you have good narrative, and you can write well. Yeah, all right, we get it.
Fucking F. Scott Fitzgerald over here.
We get it. You're good at writing.
Yeah.
You write well, while the rest of us just say, this guy stinks, that guy sucks. It's like he's weaving a story and doing great narratives and digging deep into wrestler history. Yeah, it's just him and Neil David. They can both go to hell. So they're good writing.
Really
and now Neil does good audio on the Eurographs Express. It's like, all right, dude, we get it.
Yeah,
you're smart and you're talented. All right.
Put your dick away, William Faulkner. We get it. You know how to write. Okay, just jeez.
But Jay Michael points out here the inaugural 16-man tournament, the one that quote Obari says quote he would like to see younger wrestlers on the roster compete. Wrestlers under 35, 5 out of 16 under the age 35. Wrestlers exactly 35, 3, and wrestlers that are over 40 years old, 8.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just like Yano and Fale. It's just the guys on the roster. It's like, all right.
Everyone thinks Narita's going to win. And I understand why, we'll see. I'll give this thing a chance. They say they're going to defend it on smaller shows that normally don't get important matches. Those shows in the smaller villages that get a bunch of 8-man tags. And all the matches will be aired free on New Japan World, every title match for this title. And they're going to be 15-minute sprints. So it's an interesting concept. We'll see if it holds the attention of the bookers. Because a lot of times it just, something will start off with an idea, but then they lose interest in it. And it just becomes another belt on the show. That's always a danger. We'll see. I don't know. I'll give it a chance. They're kind of copying the Stardom thing, right? And that's kind of the idea here. I will say that the suits, the upper management in New Japan, and I've talked about this on the show before, they want the company to get younger and to push younger, good-looking guys and to speed up the trainee time. Cut down on the excursions, get guys in and out of the dojo and into the ring, enough with this taking 3-4 years to get guys going from young lion to getting pushed.
Shit, it's like fucking long. It feels like it's longer than that for a lot of these recent guys, and especially when they're coming up and they're bringing them up in their mid-20s or mid to late 20s or whatever. Like we always bring up Show and Yo. Like those guys were they were quote unquote ready to go, and they were already in their early 30s, and it was like, well, that's way too long. Like you've missed 10 years of the potential peak there.
And and what they're doing is they're looking at stardom and seeing teenagers become stars, and they're like, well, why can't we do that on the New Japan side? And it's just a massive departure from the way New Japan has always done things, and the way that Yuji Nagata wants to do things, and the way that some of the older guys there learn. They learn their way, and that's the right way to do it, and they want to keep doing it their way. But the office wants faster results. This is corporate. This is corporate shit getting in the way of the traditional ways that things have been done, and this is another move in that direction.
Yeah.
So. We'll see if they lose interest in it, or if it keeps being a thing long term, or if there's sort of a soft rejection of it, from Gato and the people who pull the strings, based on sort of this push and pull they're having with the office. So that's what this is a reaction to, though.
But then they book the tournament; it's all just old guys. So.
Well, we'll see who wins it.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, if it's a good opportunity for Ren to do it, and I love the idea of the 15-minute time limit. I think that's something that's really missing from New Japan these days. It's just quick matches, matches where it feels like the bell rings. Because I talked about it with Scott where I watched the Stardom, the tournament final, and there was a lot of matches on that show, and that but. Every match was the bell rang and they just ran at each other because they wanted to win as quick as possible. And the idea is we're trying to win these wrestling matches. And it feels like a lot of modern New Japan matches are just the bell rings and it's like there's just no sense of urgency. We talked about the main event there where there's just no urgency in Jay White and Tama Tonga to get this match, to win this match, to do. It's just going on and on and on and on and on. And I love the idea of making these things 15 minutes. I mean, fuck, even Shingo and El Phantasmo went 16 minutes. It's like, that doesn't need to go 16 minutes in a Who's Your Daddy match. Just, we're good. We just do the story. But I love the idea of 15 minutes. That sounds really cool to me. So we'll see what ends up happening. But real quickly, Battle Autumn, the major show for the tour, is taking place November 5th. And the real reason I wanted to talk about this is not because there's going to be Master Wato and Taiji Ishimori versus El Desperado and Hiromu Takahashi, a little preview of Wrestle Kingdom. No, it's not because there's 2 matches in the New Japan World TV Championship tournament. It's not because Aussie Open are in action, even though they are in action. And it's not even because Will Ospreay and Tetsuya Naito are going to have an IWGP US heavyweight title match. It's because we're going to get one of the great wrestling oddities, things that we love about wrestling, because Machine Gun Carl Anderson is going to defend the never openweight title against Hikuleo. But Machine Gun Carl Anderson has re-debuted in WWE. So what's going to happen? We got some weirdness going on here. What's happening?
This answers the question of why his effort levels were so low against Tanahashi. We talked about that when we reviewed that show, where he seemed to be really excited and jacked up about being back in New Japan. And then he had this really weird, shitty match against Hiroshi Tanahashi. And it was, C- effort Carl Anderson, that you would typically see in Impact. And now I think it's become clear what was going on there. So, unfortunately, we're not going to get resolution to the Doc Gallows Toru Yano feud, Rich.
Damn it.
I know you were.
Damn it.
But I don't know. Who knows? I haven't really asked around on this or anything. Maybe I should to see what's going on with this. Maybe they surprise and he wins this match and he doesn't lose it to Hikuleo. I don't know. Is it too soon to put a title on Hikuleo? Is he ready for that? I guess it's sink or swim.
It is. Yeah. I almost, my idea would be that now that you have this new title, I would have just let this title kind of float into the distance and just kind of say, all right, well, Carl Anderson cannot defend it, and we're putting it on ice. I don't think you need the never openweight title anymore. I don't know that it really presents that much importance to this company anymore.
Yeah.
It just feels like another title, and this company has a lot of titles right now. I don't know that they. Yeah, I don't know. I would just kind of let it go. But now I'm just kind of curious what you're going to get here. Is Carl going to go in and work a minute and roll out? Are we going to get like Mike Austin with Judge Jeff Jones? He loses in a minute, walks out through the crowd type stuff. Like I live for this sort of stuff. We talk about this all the time. One of my favorite things in wrestling is like these weird oddity things where guys have to go in and drop titles or go in and finish out their their obligations, even though they've already signed with another company or whatever. It's what I mean. Like I love this stuff, so I'm fascinated to see what Carl Anderson looks like in this match. But one thing though, can we please? I'm begging people. Can we please? New Japan World retweets Carl Anderson appearing in WWE, and now we have New Japan and WWE are working together. Can we please stop?
Yeah.
Well, we just did this with the Impact thing. Mickie James appeared on WWE, and they said, "Oh, Impact," and people went, "Whoa! Now we're gonna get Moose versus Roman Reigns, and we're gonna get..." Nothing ever happened.
Right.
They just retweeted it. Calm down.
It's just New Japan. Yeah, I mean, there's and which New Japan account actually retweeted it?
New Japan World, the New Japan World account.
In like the New Japan 1972 fucking account. New Japan World retweeted it, and it's probably Chris Charlton. He's just, an opportunity to show one of their guys in another company. It doesn't necessarily mean anything whatsoever. But look, fans are going to be fans and they're going to have fun, right? So
just be smart about it. Just think for a second, because then people ask us to, what do you think about this New Japan and WWE relationship? Nothing. I don't think anything of it.
Yeah. Actually, that might not be Charlton. I'm sure he'll let us know now.
Yeah, he will. He will.
Being behind
I don't know who is behind that account, but maybe retweets.
That's not an English language account. So.
No, yeah, you're right. It isn't. But yeah, let's calm down. Let's not just assume now because of that Obari and Gato are sitting in the room with Paul Levesque going, yeah, all right. So we're gonna do Will Ospreay versus Seth Rollins. We're gonna get out of here. It's Anderson's gonna do his contractual obligation, lose this match, and be out of the door. It's fine.
More than likely, that's how it's gonna play out.
Yeah, he'll show up.
I don't know. Did they sign with WWE?
That's a great question. I don't know if they ever. I don't know if they officially ever signed. So.
Yeah, we don't know much about. I'll be honest. I didn't do any homework on this. I can look into it. I don't know. I see it as the way you see it. No, with nothing really to read into other than he's probably just finishing up.
Yeah, we'll see. If they start booking a Forbidden Door New Japan WWE thing, then I will admit I was wrong. But I do not think I'm going to be wrong in this case. All right, let's get to the last of the fake Triple Manias. As I said, the most real of the fake Triple Manias. They're doing so this year. If you don't know, they did a number of Triple Manias, which kind of takes away from the name of Triple Mania. This one, as Cubs fan wrote in his preview, that's up at voicesofwrestling.com, is the most real of the fake Triple Manias. That this looks on paper like the best card. It's in Mexico City. It's essentially the quote-unquote real Triple Mania, but the year's been filled with Triple Mania, so it's hard to get too excited about.
Well, we got a mask match, a hair match, and a match of the year contender.
Yeah, right. So it's a good show. It looks like on paper like it's going to be a hell of a show. I think Cubs fan did a fantastic. If you are not aware of what's going on in AAA, you don't follow it. The reason we're so down on it a lot of times, and we joke about it, and we call it a mean promotion, is just read that. That's a guy who watches all of this stuff, that follows all this stuff, and he will just. He lays it out. It's a fucking disaster. Like, the end results are kind of okay, and there's some fun matches that get booked, but the way that they get booked and the stories that happen in between and the things that they drop and then do and then don't do and then it's a fucking mess. It's an absolute mess. You put it perfectly. They book like Game Changer Wrestling. Things just happen. Sometimes things happen, then they don't, and then they do, and then matches happen, and sometimes magic does happen, and then they're a great match. They're great. Like you said, they've kind of backed into pretty important hair versus hair, a pretty important mask versus mask, and what has all the abilities to be a match of the year contender. So, in the end, it's pretty good. But yeah, the way they got to a lot of this stuff is just a fucking mess, because that's AAA, and it's been a mess since 1994, 1992, whenever they started, and they're not about to change. They're not going to change for anybody. This is what they've been from day one. So
I feel like. No, but in recent years, it's been, just...
Oh, it's off the rails. Yeah, it's just...
But, they have to do these four-way and three-way tags with a million people in the match. I just know I'm going to watch this show and just be so burnt out on bodies flying around by the end. You know what I mean? Like, just a million people in the ring, and it's just overload. It's too much. But, the back end of the card... with Chessman and Pagano hair versus hair. Look, I'm not sitting here going to tell you that's going to be, that could be a really good match. It could, a bloody, nasty.
Yeah. Oh, no. I'm into that. It's going to be two dudes just beating the hell out of each other, blood all over the place. And
or it could be terrible.
It's very fine. That's the AAA experience.
but someone's losing their hair. And then, Vikingo versus Rey Fenix is a legitimate, on paper, could be a match of the year contender. And then you get a mask match with Viano 4 and Pentagon Jr. And I think we kind of pegged this. Did we pick Viano 4 to ultimately lose all this shit? I think we did.
He was one that we put as a pretty high contender. I don't know if he was our main guy. Let me go back and look at that list.
Just take credit for it.
We said Viano 4 from the beginning, you dummies.
I'd be very surprised if Pentagon Jr. loses his mask in this spot.
I don't think he's losing his mask. Yeah, Cubs fan had to stop himself, in the preview talking about the history of the Vianos and Viano losing his mask. Going, well, I mean, I guess Pentagon could lose his mask, but it's like nobody. Yeah. I mean, nobody is that'd be the upset of all upsets. Is fucking Pentagon Jr. showing up in AEW without a mask, out of nowhere. So. Yeah,
and then the rest of the card will be what it is. Taya Valkyrie stinks, but they're bringing Camille in. Good for Camille.
Camille's good. I like Camille. I'm
done even pretending Taya Valkyrie's passable pro wrestler.
So bad.
She's awful. And then there's the two, the three-way trios match and the four-way tag title match.
Yeah, and then the fucking battle royal with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah,
as you go, God damn it. And there's also a Marvel match, even though Marvel apparently isn't involved anymore. But Triple H just decided there. It's perfect. You got to read the preview. Lucha Blog is on the ground. He's following this stuff like crazy. VoiceOfWrestling.com. Just look up TripleMania preview if you want from Lucha Blog.
Well, I'm looking at this and I don't see Dave the Clown's name anywhere on this card.
Oh, damn it! You're right.
Maybe he's the mystery man in that Battle Royal gimmick.
I do like that. There's a Jesse Ventura, but it's not that Jesse Ventura.
Jesse Ventura making his return. That's
Jesse,
right.
Is Tito Santana gonna be there too?
I don't think the Tito Santana's in the match. No, damn it. Flip Gordon's in the match.
Yeah, Flip getting a book. That's good for him. Yeah. Is this the new or the old sexy star? Because there's like a new sexy star that people don't hate.
This is the non-problematic sexy star.
Got it. Okay, just wanted to clarify. Yeah.
So don't send your angry tweets to AAA because
this is the new sexy star. For now, people like.
Yeah. So it should. It's. I'm tempering.
I'm watching the last 3 matches and not watching any of this other stuff. Let me be honest. I'm watching the last 3. I'm not watching the other shit. I'm skipping the first half.
I mean, I'm gonna watch it obviously, but I do think the back end can be very, very good. But you always have to hold AAA at arm's length.
You do. Yeah. All right, let's get to the final part of this show here quickly. Did a little bounce around, not a full-on bounce around the indies, but a little bit of a stroll along the indies. I watched West Coast Pros Ride the Lightning show. Did you see anything from this show, Joe?
No.
Okay. Well, I will go real quickly. My thoughts, because West Coast Pro is one of the indies that I now, every time there's a new show, I watch it because I love it. I think it's one of the best indies going right now, if not the best indie going right now. There's just no bullshit. I think they book good wrestlers. They book good matches. This show wasn't spectacular. There was, I'd say the main event was probably my favorite match, but there's another match that kind of stood out to me in it as well. But they just, I don't know. It's just an easy watch. It's like 2.5 hours. It's guys get in the ring, women get in the ring, and they fight each other, and they have good-ish matches, and then it's over. And yeah, it's just fun. It's just no bullshit, no memes, none of that stuff. It's just good wrestling, and I think they have a good presentation. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of West Coast Pro, and this Ride the Lightning show was solid as hell. Main event, which is really the most important part to talk about here, Titus Alexander defeating Jacob Fatu to win the West Coast Pro heavyweight title. A really, really good match. Titus Alexander, we talked about probably about a year or so ago, that if you're not watching this guy, if you don't know this name, get to know the name now, because this guy's going to be a big, big time star. And West Coast Pro has been kind of, very, very slowly working him up. He wins their tournament, gets this title shot against Jacob Fatu, goes out there, busts his ass, has a great match with Fatu, and now he's the new champion. He's the top guy in the company, and I think sky's the limit for this guy. Another tremendous performance by him. So if you get a chance to watch anything from the show, definitely Titus Alexander, Jacob Fatu, title switch, and a really, really good match to boot. So yeah, really good stuff. And Titus is an absolute star. Just a presence, just has it. From the moment he comes to the curtain until the moment the match is over, he's just got it. Whatever that it factor is, he's got it. And
He'll be everywhere soon enough.
Oh, yeah. You'll know the name soon. So you'll remember you heard it first, though. Remember.
He'll eventually be on TV someday, and he's everyone listening will know him eventually. He's the real deal.
There was also Brian Keith versus Ben K, which was good, not great. I kind of went in with very high expectations of this, considering I love Brian Keith and I obviously love Ben K from Dragon Gate. Ended up being okay, not great, but pretty solid. Just just dudes kind of hitting each other pretty hard for a while, so that was fun. Vinny Massaro versus Eric Stevens was.
So the Dragon Gate guys are losing everywhere.
They're losing everywhere. Yes.
Well, I see people losing their minds, but here's the thing: if the Dragon Gate office doesn't care, they're going to lose, because why would you? You're going to beat them with your guys. Right.
You don't want those guys to, if you book those guys and Dragon Gate says, hey, you need to have my guys beat your guys, then okay. Then you say, all right, well, I'm not going to have Ben K face a guy that I want to push then, because nobody, what benefit is it to book Ben K? This is old school booking. This is how booking should be. This is how you should book people. We always laugh at GCW for like booking these guys and then they always just beat the GCW guys. But this is how you should do it. If Dragon Gate says, hey, we don't care, and the guy says, yeah, I don't care, then you book him against one of your big guys. They have a good match, and then he beats the guy.
Yeah.
Brian Keith beats Ben K, and then they go, okay, cool. Well, here's Ben K, and he had a good match, and he's from Dragon Gate, and he lost to Brian Keith. So there you go. And
Dragon Gate is probably being pragmatic in that they're like, look, no one here is going to give a fuck that Ben K lost to Brian Keith on an indie show in front of 300 people in America when Ben K comes back. It's either that or the Dragon Gate office is in such disarray with shitty people running it these days that they don't have any quality control. Those are two drastically different things, but it's one or the other. And I wouldn't put either as more likely than the other. It could be either or, really. I mean, we know that when Pac was their Dreamgate champion, he wouldn't do jobs anywhere.
Right.
But he was the champion. So that's a little different. Different people running the show in those days as well. It's I don't want to get in I'm down on the Dragon Gate office. I'm down on that whole situation. People get mad at me when I talk about it. I don't know. So I don't know. Let's just move on.
Yeah. And then otherwise, real quickly, the other parts of the card, Vinny Massaro defeating Eric Stevens. Good little veteran match there. No disqualification, falls count anywhere. Starboard Charlie defeats Alan Angels. Alan Angels is now kind of a hated heel, kind of an asshole heel here. And then otherwise, there's just a bunch of other undercard matches. I think the other name that stood out to me on this show that I wanted to talk about a little bit, because I watched this and I was just like, holy shit. Queen Aminata. Have you ever seen Queen Aminata before?
Once or twice.
I think she's got when you see someone like that, and she's not fully refined, she's not all the way there, she still has probably a long way to go to becoming a great worker. But you always talk about with Rachel Rose in Texas, how she walks through the curtain and she just owns the room. She's got presence. She feels like a star. She looks like a star. She carries herself like a star. That's what I got from Queen Aminata. And I was just like, what? This woman is on the American Indies, and I have to watch fucking Shazza McKenzie and Alley Cat and all this stuff. And there's this woman that's on the Indies that's available to book and do stuff with. I know she's done dark matches before, AW Dark and stuff. Just someone that has the look, and you could tell the work is getting there. It's not quite there, but yeah, in terms of like presence and owning a room and looking like a star, book more Queen Aminatas and a lot less of those other women that I just mentioned. Please, I'm begging the American Indies. Come on.
I genuinely don't know why or how Shazza McKenzie ever gets booked. I think she's legitimately one of the worst pro wrestlers I've ever seen in my life.
And I just can't believe that I have to watch. I mean, and there's a lot of these companies that I gotta, and it's like, you have women like this. It makes me, it's like these women do exist. There are good independent wrestlers, or there are at least independent wrestlers, especially independent women talent, that have a ton of potential, that can become, book these people. Why are you booking this? We know what they are. We know that these other people stink and they're no good and they can't work. And then you see this woman and you're like, yeah, here you go. This is, and again, she's not great. She's not a fully refined worker at this point, but god damn, it's way better than someone that I know is not going to ever be good. that has a horrific look. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I saw her and I was just like, what the fuck? Why do I have to watch all these other women on these indies? They're just no good. And when this woman is there, and how many other ones are like that? How many other Queen Aminatas are out there that are also really good, or have good looks, or have that potential, that are just not getting booked on these shows because they're not these names that people get along with on Twitter? It's just it's yeah, whatever. You
can't convince me that if you put Shazza McKenzie on your card, you're going to sell a shitload of tickets. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe she's some kind. So what's the point? She just makes your show worse because she's fucking terrible. and she gets booked everywhere. I don't understand. Is it just a handshake club at this point? Like what is, I don't know.
I don't know. It's just, yeah. But she had a great show, a great match here, or a fun match here. 15 minutes. They let her work for a while too. It was with Mio Momona, I believe is how you pronounce that. I might be getting that wrong. Joshi wrestler, but they had a really fun match, really fun 15-minute match. But I was just like seeing her, and it was just like, oh well, shit. There's somebody with potential. That's somebody you remember the name as well. Similar to Titus Alexander, she's somebody that I think in a couple years we're probably going to know the name because just owns the room when she goes in. So that's that. That was West Coast Pros Ride the Lightning. It's available on Independent Wrestling TV. So if you're a subscriber, you can watch it. And definitely watch the Titus Alexander Jacob Fatu match if you get a chance. But then real quickly, AAW in Chicago has a 2-night event this weekend, a tournament, the Jim Lynam Memorial Tournament. I am going to be there for tomorrow's show. Saturday is TBD, most likely just going to do the Friday show, but we'll see what ends up happening, depending on plans. No brackets, but we do have first round matchups. So here is who is participating. You have Mike Bennett versus Davey Vega, Silas Young versus Gnarls Garvin, Manders versus Josh Alexander, Rich Swann versus Ace Austin, Yamato from Dragon Gate versus Zachary Wentz. That's honestly the real reason I'm going here, is because Yamato's wrestling, not far from me. Maybe my last opportunity to see Yamato wrestle live, so I got to do that. Shaft versus Davey Richards, Masha Slamovich versus Dante Leone, and I also believe Trey Miguel has been added to this match too. So you get your look, you get your. I love that Masha is like the go-to for, all right, we have a tournament. We need a woman. Masha, get in here. You know what I mean? So, but then like you had Trey probably booked anyways, but now you're doing a 3-way with Masha, Dante Leone, and Trey Miguel in a first-round tournament matchup. Don't ask me. I'm not booking it. And then Fred Yehai versus Calvin Tankman, which I'm very excited to watch that match.
Why do we have to shoehorn a woman into the tournament?
It's always Sasha. It's Masha. It's always Masha.
Why? Like why can't you just put Masha Slamovich in a championship match against Christy Janes? That's the champion, right?
I believe she is still the champion, yes.
Why can't you just do that? Why are these promotions just deathly afraid of people tweeting at them or something?
So.
I don't understand why. Why don't you just do Dante Leone versus, who'd you say, Trey Miguel?
Trey Miguel, yeah.
And it's a 3-way, which makes it even more obvious that it's just a shoehorn situation. Just do Dante Leone versus Trey Miguel and put Masha Slamovich in a championship match with your champion. Or do a women's tournament. Why do we have to put like a token woman in these tournaments? It just drives me nuts. I don't like it. I can't stand it.
It's always one too, which is the fun. It's always one.
Yeah, it's the worst. It's awful. It makes me less interested. It just does. I've been canceled a million times. Cancel me again. It makes me less interested. It stinks. I hate it.
But there you go. That is that's the tournament. So like I said, I'll be there tomorrow. Watching the show, but mostly interested in seeing Yamato live. So we'll see if he ends up winning this one, moves on in the tournament, or that's it for him. But yeah, there's some stuff I like there. There's Fred Yehai, Calvin Tankman. I'm interested in those. I haven't seen Davey Richards live in a while, so that'll be fun to check him out again. Rich Swann's always fun. Josh Alexander is one of the best going in the world today. So there's some interesting stuff there. I mean, there's been obviously much better tournament lineups, but pretty solid all things considered with the current state of the indies. So that's that.
Brought up Rachel Rose. Inspire booked her with Jungle Kiona for November 3rd. So that's a good match to put her in there with.
That is good. Yeah. And she's somebody, again, the first time we talked about her was, I don't know, 2 years ago.
Rachel Rose?
Yeah. Had to be.
A little over a year ago I saw her at the Texas Indie Showcase live.
Oh, that's right. And that's another name, too, that I think is going to, you'll see her soon in somewhere.
Yeah, she had done some darks for AEW, and then I saw her live, and she made the biggest impression on me of anybody on that show. And that was, promotions from across the state of Texas sending their best. So that'll be good. That's good that they gave her that match against Jungle Kiona here. And, I reported this behind the paywall probably about a month ago, but these promoters were told specifically, Jungle Kiona works women only. No intergender.
Interesting. Okay.
So, that's something I had that behind the paywall, but I don't know how many people who are listening might not have seen that. But those were specific instructions from her handlers or her team, or maybe just from her. I think the exact verbiage was no intergender tournament, or whatever the Japanese translation comes out to be. Female only. So She wasn't coming over here to work this fucking intergender bullshit. And if there's a lot of promoters you see who are like, we're putting her in there with our best. Yeah, only because you've been told. You know what I mean? Like, I know Inspire's not doing that, but there's some of these promoters who are, they're slick like that. They can't book her against men. So then they go out there and puff their chests and tell you, we got Jungle Kyono coming in, so we're putting in there against our best. Yeah, if it were up to you, you'd have her in there against, whoever, Jordan Oliver or something. Let's be honest. Anyway, I know we got to wrap it up. Did they put out the PWG lineup?
I believe it is out. Yeah, one sec. Let me get it for you, so I can list off a bunch of matches that I will never watch ever.
Let's talk about this PWG show we're not going to watch
in 7 years. We always do these shows. I go, whoa, that's a good card. Never going to watch it. I promise I'm never going to watch any of these matches from Dink. I'm not going to watch one. I'm not going to watch Dink because it's on November 6th. The fucking video, the DVD is going to come out in March. It's going to feel like it was 7 years ago. I'm not buying the DVD. Maybe it's up on Extreme Wrestling Tours. I'm not going to download it. I'm never going to watch any of these matches. But Dink taking place Sunday, November 6th. PWG, Titus Alexander faces Ray Horus. There we go. Titus Alexander, as we just mentioned, getting a big spot here. Shane Haste faces Davey Richards. The Dark Order make their PWG return as they face the Rascals, Trey Miguel and Myron Reed. Jordan Grace makes her PWG debut when she faces Masha Slamovich.
Okay.
No intergender.
Great.
2 women.
Great.
And that just sounds like a badass match that everybody should book all the time, but they're too busy booking them and other stuff. But that sounds great. 2 women that just kick each other's asses. That sounds awesome. So Commander and Latigo will be making their PWG debuts. And the match is going to be Aramis, Bandito, and Commander versus Latigo, Laredo Kid, and Black Taurus. Okay, maybe I'll watch that match.
Yeah, that'll be, Commander that's a potential. I mean, I know a lot of people know about Commander, but working PWG in a match like that, that's a potential breakout spot.
Yeah, for sure. Also on Dink, PWG's Dink is not named after Dink, named after a fan, not Dink the Clown, if you're wondering. Leo Rush makes his return to PWG after his 9th retirement. And he takes on Speedball Mike Bailey November 6th at Dink. You also have Jonathan Gresham facing Daniel Garcia for the PWG World title.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty good.
It's like a decent show I'll never watch.
Yes, as usual. Sounds good. Looks cool. Never watch it.
Yeah.
The Swink. You know how the Swink likes to correct you, Joe.
Oh, God.
In the Dodo chat room. Sir, you are wrong, because Jungle Kiona faced Eric Stevens at Black Label Pros Turbo Graps 24 Part 2.
Okay, great. They broke the rules. What do you want from me? Okay, I have spoken to the damn promoters. They've been given specific instructions to book her against women.
I will say otherwise, you look at her run in America, Masha Slamovich, Janai Kai, Maya Yuki, this is from Deadlock Pro, so I probably got the name wrong. I apologize. Sky Blue, Sandra Moon, and then Sawyer Wreck as well. So otherwise,
probably sent out the reminder after that dopey promotion broke the rules.
Probably said, "Hey, by the way."
Who was it? AIW?
No. Of course, it is Black Label Pro.
Oh, Black Label
As
Pro,
per
of course.
usual.
Yeah, that guy. He can't book his way out of whatever cliche you want to use. I mean, that guy stinks. Of course he would book that match. Yeah, I don't know. What do you want from me? The promoters told me.
Careful now, careful.
It drives you nuts.
Anyway, I think that's it, right? We're done, right? You got nothing? I got nothing?
I think we're done.
Voice held up. So hopefully tomorrow still holds up and you'll be back to normal. But anyway, that is it for us. Again, patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling, flagshippatreon.com for all of our bonus content as well. Voicesofwrestling.com for previews and reviews of a lot of the major shows that we talked about on this. Make sure, if you're listening to this, subscribe on your podcast app of choice, of course. Make sure you rate, review us, do all that other good stuff. We were number 1 in Turkey. We're number 1 in the Isle of Man, but we want to be number 1 everywhere. So make sure you subscribe to the Flagship Feed as well as the Voice of Wrestling Podcast Network feed. Subscribe to both of those. Download all of them on both. Review everything on both. subscribe on both. Do all that other good stuff. We need all that stuff to help us out. We're also on YouTube as well. We've been doing a lot more clips of these shows as well up on YouTube. So Voice of Wrestling on YouTube. You just search it on YouTube, youtube.com/Voices of Wrestling. And that is it for us. So for Joe, I am Rich, and we will talk to you next time.
Hold on.
What?
Hold on. No, hold on. I'm going to find this fucking message from this promoter.
You will not let this go. All right.
There it is.
Okay.
I'm looking at it. It says, and I quote, Kiona should only be in matches with female players, end quote. Sent to a promoter.
Yeah, so Black Label fucked it up then.
When did she wrestle Eric Stevens? I'm like, what was it?
That was Turbo Graps. Let me find out when Turbo Graps 24 was. That was on September 24th.
Okay. Now I'm annoyed. Question my credibility.
You looking for a
Wrap
date
it
here?
up, Rich. Huh?
Oh, I thought you were looking for a date or something. I thought there was the reason you asked me when that match was.
No. It's for my purposes.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because now I'm digging deep.
Now you gotta get to the bottom of this.
Yes, I am.
You guys now know Joe will be up all night now, ensuring that you know he is correct, that he was not wrong about this. So there you go. That is that. Anyway, that is it for us. That is Joe. I am Rich. This is the Flagship Podcast. We'll talk to you again next time. Take care. Bye.
Hey, it's me, your Uncle Cooper. Sorry to interrupt your music. I do love music, especially when it's set at a reasonable volume. You know, music is really only as good as your speakers. The same is true for minivans. A minivan is only as good as the tires it sits on. And the button on the screen there, it agrees with me. If you click on it, it'll bring you to all the Cooper minivan tires that'll make your minivan a really good minivan. Go with the Coopers! Cooper!